Oh, and you know we need something like that to happen.
Well, it's a very warm welcome to Aldo Scribante. It's round 2 of the South African Endurance Series right here in beautiful Nelson Mandela Bay. I'm Gareth Burley, Stephen Koenig alongside me. We've been looking forward to this. It's a race day after 2 days of preparation, a bit of rain, lots of engine changes, lots of stories, Steve. We're going racing today.
It's absolutely phenomenal, and the best part is there's sun shining.
There's sunshine.
And the beautiful ocean going and welcoming all our drivers and riders from Joburg and around the country, and massive welcome to you all. But I gotta say, I'm really excited for it because the championship is heating up. We've got a whole new contention of riders and drivers coming in to fight it out. We only have round 2.
Well, we're going to have a spectacular day. Yesterday we had our first Sports and GT night race. Race 2 coming up in a short while. But first up, Steve, you've been following our South African Superbikes, our Masters. There are a truckload of Superbikes coming onto the grid in a short while. Tell us how the season's been going for these guys.
So the MRSSA making their debut season here for 2025. Absolutely phenomenal to have them, but it's also got a variety of different classes coming through, and a big special class that's just being shown today is the Suzuki GSX-8R. It hasn't gone in any of the rounds. It has never raced. So it's only done practice on track days. This is the first track debut and first race. So we're going to get to see that with Tristan Pienaar fighting it out. We've also got Adolf Bischoff, who's looking to charge his way to the championship. We don't have Sean Peterson. We do wish him well, though, to get a speedy recovery. He's now needing to gather some points for the championship. Adolf has an opportunity to run away and defend his crown. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the battles coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Superbikes race 1 coming up. So each of them are going to have 2 heats today. Of course, as mentioned, Sports and GT. They've already had 1 race, their first night race last night. It was super close and exciting. A few incidents. A red flag brought in a premature end to that one, but we did get the Hammonds racing team, of course, picking up the victory there. And then they've got 2 races to come. And then our build up to the big 5 hours night race here of Aldo Scribante. We've just had free practice. Out of all of the cars, surprising not to see many of them out on track this morning.
I think a lot of drivers and a lot of teams are just trying to save the car, just soak it in, maybe in a later breakfast, get yourself ready, get mentally ready for this. And I mean, milkshake by the ocean before you come racing sounds like just a dream.
Sounds like a new debut song here on SAES. Of course, the big news for us as we go to round 2 is a brand new sponsor on board and a whole bunch of new sponsors. I mean, it's exciting days, Vodacom for you. They've got huge activations here. Sky Electric's outside, just outside our commentary booth. We've been playing a little bit. We won't tell you who came out on top. And then, of course, there's plenty more. There's a couple of classic cars. We've got the Porsche Club here as well. They're going to be out on track shortly. A whole bunch of sponsors doing activations around the track as well.
Well, that's it. We're bringing a little bit of a motoring festival to Aldo Scribante, which has been a long time coming, and now looking to make an annual event. A lot of manufacturers are going to be going around enjoying lots of specials, I've heard. So if you're not here at the track and not being part of it, you're going to lose out on some massive specials if you're looking at purchasing a new vehicle, even getting data packs as well from Vodacom.
Okay, fantastic. So if you're in the vicinity, Eastern Cape, Kaberge, Nelson Mandela Bay, popping here at Aldo Scribante. We've got the ocean just on the side of here, beautiful sunshine, bathing the track. We're expecting a dry day, so we'll hold thumbs for that. But if you're in the area, come and pop in. Of course, we're on live YouTube up into, right through the day, in fact, till the closing moments. But we go live on Supersport from 3:30. The race gets underway at 4. So let's just quickly, before we get into the bikes, talk about some of the big stories here. All of the top contenders are here. So who's looking fast? Who's looking racy in the 5 hour?
I would have to say the Nova is on a little bit of a back foot. They're very quick, but you have got a lot of young drivers in. Nick Adcock not behind the wheel and having Ryan Leica and Charles Visser joining in with Mr. Thomas to have a bit of fun. That's going to be an interesting combo to see how the young drivers are going to contend with the traffic and also trying to outdo one another. Ryan having to go and put a mental block behind him to ensure he can put himself back towards the top.
Well, of course, the Nova is on pole position, the Rico Bala Racing. We'll get to that, of course, throughout the day. There's so many stories unfolding, but here we get our first images of the track. Green, you can see the ocean just in the background there. It's looking a little bit damp because we had some rain yesterday. Now, the only rain that was forecast was for a heavy downpour at 10 o'clock. And for those of you around the world tuning in, it's 10 to 10, which means, as you can see on the screen, we are good to go. But the track may be a bit green. We saw particularly yesterday in the Sports and GT and in the pre-practice on the SAES that the guys really struggled around some of the corners just for grip. But the bikes taking different lines, we're not expecting them to be struggling at all as we just get this shot down the main straight. There's the city of Gqeberha in the background. You can see blue skies all the way to the horizon. So it looks like we're in for a cracking day of racing.
And majority going out on a fresh set of tires to ensure they can maximize the grip needed to walk away with some of the lap records. And that's been the goal for a lot of the riders, likes of Tristan Pienaar, likes of Adolf, all going and fighting out. Dino Izio making his return back to South Africa after doing a bit of a stint overseas with some motorcycle racing, doing an absolutely phenomenal ride. So we're looking forward to seeing that. And Dino, after coming second in qualifying, turned around in the pits and said, listen, Adolf, you might have got it this time, but race one, I'm ahead of you, and you're not going to catch me. So there's a bit of a rivalry getting formed in the pits. Tristan is confident of, he's used to the circuit, but is hoping to close down the gap that little bit more. Also putting in a bit of a fight after having a little bit of a rough round one, coming off the bike in the first round.
Nick Landy here, of course, in the Ducati Panigale. We're starting to see more and more bikes. Those must have been watching local motorsport and cycles or motorcycles for a long time. We start to see the evolution of these little fairings coming on the side of the bikes. You see many of the Ducatis have got them. The BMWs are here in their beautiful livery, very World Superbike-ish in terms of the colors. So, yeah, these are fast machines. So on pole position, Adolf Boshoff did a 1 minute flat, is a 1:00.7, with Dino Izzo on a 1:00.8. They'll be the two to keep an eye out for. Tristan Pienaar will also be on the front row. He's on the number one, the 50 in that CBR 1000. He's actually doing 2 races here this weekend, is that right?
Yes, he's on the Suzuki GSX 8R and on his 1000cc. So looking to double up the racing. Why not? 19
bikes on the grid there. This is race 1 for the weekend for the MRSSA Senior Superbikes and blue skies. There you can see some wind turbines in the background. That's back towards the Citrus area here. Of course, Sundays River Valley, quite close to the racetrack. That's where the rain came from yesterday. Wind direction completely different than for today, and expecting beautiful conditions for racing. Let's go racing, man. Come on.
This is going to be incredible, and our photographer's getting a beautiful aerial shot with the use of a ladder to go and just get a sense of it. One rider, it's a big talking point, not on the grid, Temba Kamalu, is going and getting some work done on his knee after coming off. So we wish him well on that. But I did have a chat to him last night. He said he's going to try and make it to the circuit even if he comes in the hospital gown.
Okay, look out for the hospital gown out and about in the track. But I'm just going to say 19 bikes. This is just one of 3 Superbike races we've got here this weekend. It just feels like Superbikes is such a healthy state. Bike racing in general in South Africa. It's just such a great place. Is it because of the Binders and the Moodleys? Is it because of that? What's happening that's so healthy?
I think everyone is just getting back to it and wanting to be part of the fun.
Right, so we're all set to go then. It's a race 1 of the weekends, and they've had plenty of practice. Just run us through the starting formats for our bikes. They've of course made their way around the track. They'll have a bit of a warm-up here, and then a standing start.
Standing start, bring the revs up. You're trying to get it to about 6,000 RPM, hold the clutch in, put it into gear, and eye out turn 1. Don't want to get caught into the pack, especially through the S's, and away they go. As possible. Tristan also getting a phenomenal start as he pushes his way forward, but Dino looking to take the fight on early on.
Yeah, so this is just the warm-up, of course. This isn't the race, eh?
No, they are just trying to practice their start.
Sure. The way you were going, I thought, what's going on? Okay, so let's talk about some of the key points around the track for these bikes. So we'll just follow them now. We saw the first corner. This is the famous S's where you saw 1 or 2 incidents. This will go down through the hangar now. This is sort of straight towards the ocean. Interesting braking point coming up here because this is hairpin, the top point of the track, closest point to the ocean. We've seen a number of incidents here, particularly in the cars, but the bikes seem to have kept their noses clean. Then they take the down a little hill and it's a left through the sweep. Just a possible way to get to overtake. I'm surprised by that. Just stay with them. They go through the sweep here, full taps through here, and then look for their braking point into the final corner, the famous yellow Dunlop wall. It's a particularly long right turn. You don't often get to see it on the screen. You can see there, long right turn. Don't go too quickly on the throttle and full taps down the main straight.
Oh, that's it. This section, where it starts, out of the pack, running in second place. Tristan Pienaar running in third, trying to get away from Damien Proficati. But Dino not hanging around. The 43 going around. That is Saes trying to battle it out. This is backing towards the sharp end of the field as they just make their way through the sweep and through the S, well, heading through the S's, heading to the sweep, really keeping onto the power. And Adolf really battling to hold on to Dino. Dino's got a very aggressive riding style, likes to slide by here and put on the power early as possible, gets a little bit unsettled. So Adolf really has to change up his riding style, looking for the inside to try and force Dino to sit up a little bit more.
All right, of course, two of the favourites, you'd say, coming into this weekend, both qualifying just on the 1 minute section. Here we go now for the second time. They're down the main straight. And top speed here, Steve, for these guys here at Aldo Scribante.
A lot. We're saying about 275 kilometers an hour before they have to climb onto the anchors, and we're seeing more and more of it. But it's very, very interesting to see Dino starting to open up a little bit of a gap to Adolf. And then you've got Tristan Pienaar, who is running 2.2 seconds behind in third place. Proficati in fourth, trying to improve his time. And that is for the 1000cc SBKs. But for the 600s, Uri Perry currently leading out the pack with Ryan van Niekerk in second and Tag Jans van Rensburg in third place. For the bots, it's Leon Horn, Alan Holscher, and Mick Landy running in third.
All right, so you mentioned the 600s. Fury, they're currently in fifth position, but our eyes are on the front there. We've got Dino Ioza there leading out there. This is now coming towards the final corner once again. Surprised to see the gap there to Boshoff. Perhaps just settling in now as they come towards the end of lap number 2 here at Aldo Scribante. You see the bikes just sort of veer a little to the right. The reason for that, Steve?
Just trying to protect themselves from the wind blowing around, but also trying to sap the toe of the riders behind. Remember, if you're the leading, you're going in creating a vacuum for your competition to get close to you. So you want to try and find optimum grip, you want to try and snap the toe, and also not be getting buffeted by the wind before you head into turn 1.
This is race 1 of the South African Superbike. So we've got 4 categories actually out there. We've been mentioning a lot about the 1000ccs with our front 2 leading the pack. Nice little slide there through the second half of the S's, dropping down now into the hangar. A little bit off the brake, onto the brakes there, just a little touch there, that you can make sure that you don't touch the grass on the right. The bikes will certainly not want to touch that grass there. It's slippery out there. And if your braking pointers already, we start to get to some of the back markers. I mentioned the 1000ccs. We've got Fury leading the 600s, but we've got the bots. Those are your Ducati boys, and then your Masters category, 40 years and over, majority of them out on Kawasaki's at the moment.
And having a ton of fun in the process. But we've also got a mix of the Masters and bots going and having a bit of fun with the 600cc. The 600 definitely have the cornering going and handle themselves, but it's running into a difficult time. We're hoping to break away from Ryan van Niekerk, but actually loses out position to take Jans van Rensburg a little bit further back on the running through. The likes of De Brain, who is running 5th in his class, is down the order and having to try and figure out how can he get a little bit more run.
I'm surprised by this gap. Boshoff, it's a long weekend. We've still got another big race to come. Track conditions, perhaps still a little bit green out there. Surprised that he's not able to keep with Ioza, who's out in the lead and looking very comfortable and strong at the moment.
That's definitely going to
Look at the beautiful colours of the Honda there, hey?
And that is Tristan Pienaar making his way through. Adolf Boshoff to the final corner, losing out a lot of time. Maybe protecting the tyres a little bit more, trying to not go and warm them up and put them through a heat cycle too much on the opening of the race, rather than go and keep it towards the end, let Dino start flattening off the grip. But we've also got to keep a very close eye on 5th, 6th and 7th. That is our 1st, 2nd and 3rd of the 600s, with Peary having the likes of Van Rensburg and Tompkins chasing him down.
Yeah, look, Peary's lapping comfortably in the 102s at the moment, the rest of the field in 103s and the 600s. But out in front, I mean, we've got Dino in the 59s, so that's breaking through the 1 minute mark there, while 2 seconds off the pace for Boshoff. I'm surprised by the pace of the number 1 man.
And Ryan van Niekerk on the number 13, trying to improve his time. Gone down the order off the start of the race, so he's just trying to get that knee down, really put the power on early. They can do lots of suspension work too much, and to just get it dialed in that
Keeps
little bit
looking
more.
back with the bike there. What's the problem? Keeps looking back. I don't know if it's towards the rest of the field, or it's maybe something on the bike, but hey, this has become a familiar sight of sliding the back wheel into the corner, very Brad Binderish slide. These guys are getting so confident in these bikes. They know their machines so well. They spend so much time in the seat. These riders are just phenomenal. They're so aware of the power they've got in their hands, the throttle, and they're able to just throw the weight of these bikes around confidently.
Well, Ryan, actually, a good one to point out, started out on PB50 and progressed all the way up. So from 4 years old, all he's known is 2 wheels and handlebars to push his way through the order. And now up into the heading towards 600s and moving on to 1000s. He's going to be really happy with just improving his racing career.
Yeah, beautiful to see some of the, we almost as race fans have got used to the fairings and the different kind of setups that we've got on these bikes. So you start to see, recognizes the various noses, the air vents, and there's a Ninja, hey, there's a Kawasaki, a World Superbike kind of fairing that he's so familiar with. You start to get familiar with your brand and what you love about following these guys. Yeah, a bit of a, and he's gone a bit off there, a bit later on the brakes here for the 27. And that's Futta there. He was running in 11th position. Let's see if we can see him get back onto the track as we come back then now to that.
Something we've seen quite often, we're missing a brake mark. We had it also with the cars last night. We're just going in a little bit too deep. That extra 2 meters lands up into the grass. Hopefully he can get it all returned back to the track, but definitely going to be down the order. Not going to be too happy with that one as they fight their way through. And time starting to tick over. 7 laps completed by our riders.
Yeah, Yakakos there in screen. He's on the Kawasaki ZX-10R, running in the Masters category. And he's currently looking good for 9th position. But you can see the leaders were catching him quite quickly. Just shows you the pace of the front runners. Last time out there for Coast running in the 105s, the leaders are on the 1 minute flat.
Well, he's actually leading out the Masters with his competition of Mr. Futta landing up into the grass. So a little bit of breathing room as now...
Troy Tonkin, we saw there in the shot, the 52 going through there. Troy behind the wheel of that Yamaha YZF R6, running in the 600s at the moment, looking very comfortable, running in 3rd in class, 7th on the road.
So absolutely close running as they start making their way through. That is Tristan Pinot trying to carve his way through a bit of traffic, and this is where it's going to be a little bit tricky as you've got to try and figure out where to get the best gap.
Yeah, it's amazing. Just as race fan, you see straight away, you recognize the bike. There's a Honda. The colors on the World Superbike Honda racing team, and wonderful to see the guys. They're passionate about their teams. They love to replicate those bikes and doing well.
I do want to point out that's on traffic. That is the 88 of Damien Perfecati that may have just taken 3rd place away from Tristan.
It is the 88, yeah.
So we are going to see a bit of a podium change here. Tristan's going to have to try and fight him back for it though on the way through. It's a difficult run to try and remain in the top spot. But Tristan chasing down Damien Perfecati, and they've got Adolf Bischoff not too far up the road.
So, in fact, the gap is really closed there. And I wonder if Boschoff's maybe got a bit of a problem because Perfecati is right there with him. The pace, there he is. There's Boschoff now, our championship leader, defending champion. He's the man to beat, but somehow struggling because Dino's gone. He's long gone. He's already up towards on the back straight, and we're out of shot already. And here comes Perfecati, really closing the gap. So we'll keep an eye on them. Last time out, pretty much both on the pace of the 101s at the moment.
His 2 two championship rivals coming at him at a rate of knots. This is going to be a bit of a battle for Adolf Bischoff. They slacked off a little too much at the start of the race, trying to protect the tires a little bit too much, and now going to have the youngsters chasing down, looking to get an early pass.
Yeah, there goes Dino at the end of the main straight. He's well ahead now, so perhaps a bit of traffic catching him up. But let's have a look now as we go through the timing beams. And last time out, a 101.8. In fact, it was Purificati was quicker with a 101.7. So definitely closing the gap. And this is compromising. Oh, it's a difficult braking spot. That's not normally for overtaking, and this is going to really compromise him now. He's lost a bit of drive there. Can Purificati take advantage of that little leaning onto the brakes there, having to protect himself? And he looks like he's also been compromised a bit on that line.
Well, with 2 laps to go, it's all or nothing, and you can see Adolf sliding the rear, just trying to get as much rotation as possible and get back onto the power. Definitely looking over his shoulder, seeing a Damien closing up that gap at a rate of knots. Very familiar to Swartkops in round 1. Damien not going to hold back on this one, but with 1 lap to go, it's all or nothing for the thousands.
Also not quite on the apex of that turn there. Of course, Adolf in the Honda CBR 1000. We've got Dino out in front in the Yamaha, but this is a BMW chasing him down in third. Can Purificati cause an upset as we go down to, is this the final lap?
This is the final lap. Adolf running second place in his class, maybe looking at dropping down to third if he gets it wrong, heading through the S's and into the sweep. It's all about momentum, and Damien Purificati is going to be leaning on the throttle as much as possible. Closed up, looks for the inside, couldn't quite get it.
Yeah, look, it looks like he's actually maintaining that gap and looking quite comfortable, in fact. So it looks like our front 4 are going to be settling in there with Fury, the first of the 600s, in 5th position. So just get a confirmation there now. Stunning scenes here out at Aldo Scribante on the hairpin for the very last time. Our leaders will be going through to the final corner to pick up the checkered flag for race 1 here of the weekend.
And Perry will be holding on to the first in his class, going and walking away. But here is the battle for second place.
Close.
And it's going to be the likes of Tristan Pienaar going and chasing down to the wire, hoping to get any improvement. Unfortunately, not able to get ahead of Damien Purificati. Traffic came into play. So Dino walks away with first, Adolf Bischoff in second, Damien Purificati in third for our thousands.
So just confirmation then that Dino Iezo finishing with a comfortable 17-second gap to Adolf Bischoff. Just showed you in the end how comfortable it was. Purificati then less than a second behind with Pienaar a further 1.5 seconds back. Fury then the first of the 600s, then picking up victory in the 600 class ahead of Van Rensburg. Tonkin then through in third place. The bots, our Ducati boys, it was Horn then picking up the victory. He came home ahead of Hulscher, 46. And Landy, we saw him on screen, a few shots there. Hey, the big wave out to the fans there in the 72. And then finally our Masters category, our 40-plus age group, majority of them on Kawasaki's. It was close, the 43 that picked up victory ahead of Fata. It was a lap down, and we've got Ferreira in third. So no surprises across the categories except for the race victory. Can we see Adolf perhaps come back for the race winning race 2 a little bit later on today?
I think the Spanners are going to be coming out and working frantically for race 2 a little bit later on, and maybe just appear over to the pits to see what Dino is doing to his bike.
Okay, so race 2 coming up at 10 to 12 for this category. Of course, 2 more bikes to come. So next up, we've got the senior club race coming up for us at 11. The junior superbikes then at 25 past 11. Stay with us. Plenty to come here at Aldo Scribante. Right, welcome back. That was the Senior Superbike Race 1. Track looking a little bit green.
Definitely, grip is sort of there, but not quite. We didn't see the too many sub 1 minutes, but we definitely saw the fights coming in, and traffic did play a big part for our front runners.
There are 19 bikes in that first race. We've got 2 more Superbike races to come. The club and, of course, then the juniors still to come. This is all boding very well for the health of Superbike racing in South Africa, isn't it?
And it's actually a welcome to it, because we landed up with very few riders at one stage of the game because the cost getting too much. But thanks to the MRSSA, they've made it easier, more welcoming, and saying, come get those bikes out of the garages, come have some fun. And you don't have to be the fastest on the field, just come and enjoy.
Some of the bikers were saying it's cheaper than karting. That's how good it is at the moment, Superbike racing. So really exciting to see. And why not? Because it's a fan favorite. Having almost 60 bikes here this weekend. You just got to come into the second lane of the pits here at Aldo Scribante, which is so accessible to the fans. Come and meet the guys. I had my son with me on Thursday. They're just so quick to take a young boy, put him on the bike, and he even got to start some of the bikes and rev a little bit.
I was extremely jealous, I won't lie. But I've got to ask the question.
Yes.
Favorite brand?
Well, I've always been a Ducati boy, but I've asked my son, which one he likes. And they look, the meaner they look, somehow the youngsters seem to connect with them. So the BMWs, those eyes in the front of it with its fairings on the side, it's looking pretty mean. They quickly go towards those BMWs. Yourself?
BMWs definitely are on the list, but I have to say the Suzukis are starting to win my heart, especially the classics a little bit further down. Just something about it is welcoming. It's like a gentle hug.
Gentle little hug.
There we go. Gentle hug.
Well, of course, you can't take you away from your favorite brands, but it's wonderful to have such a variety here. We just saw in first race, of course, the front 3. Honda, we had BMW in third, and of course a Yamaha picking up the victory there in race 1. So yeah, fantastic start then to go. We're going to have a look at some of the highlights here, of course, on our first race. 2 more to come. So let's see how things played out in the Superbikes.
So coming off the start, Adolf getting a phenomenal start. Dino actually getting the best one as Adolf was battling to get the front down to ensure he has a massive amount of grip. They do have anti-wheelies to try and keep them going, but Adolf just getting sucked into the pack. Lost out a lot of time. Our bots also, nice gentle start for them. Many of the riders not wanting to push too hard early on and rather go for a later heat cycle on the way through.
So we've got 1000cc 600s, our bots, which are Ducatis, and our Masters category, all mixed up here. It didn't take long, though, for our leaders to catch the back markers, and it was out in front. Dino looking extremely comfortable, but the back markers playing a bit of a role there and bringing third, fourth back into play here, but Dino was well out in front.
We also saw what happens when you get left alone, like Ryan van Niekerk, who had no one to play slipstream with and unfortunately couldn't catch up to the packs as much as he would like, where others were going and utilising the slipstream of the bigger classes ahead.
Yeah, this was the only bike went off the track there, and that was just outbraking himself. I'm not too sure it was about the track. It's more just about finding their speed. It is cool out here still with sunny conditions, but yeah, Adolf was surprised not to be contesting for the victory. Got caught out a few times, like going through the S's, and that's not the an easiest comfortable overtaking opportunity.
Going and having to figure out and pull all the stops out to keep ahead of the championship contenders. All the way through, the riders trying to improve, but it was our 600s that went and really took the fight. But at the end, third place was nearly a very big change. Tristan missing out by an absolute hair.
Great camaraderie, of course, between the riders, and they'll all go and park next to each other now and get ready to make some changes. Will there be plenty of adjustments still to be made for them?
Tire pressure, suspension, and retake a look at your sprockets. There can be quite a bit you can do to just get it all dialed in. Remember, they were in cooler conditions yesterday. Now everything's starting to warm up. You're starting to figure out your feet, and now you've also learned what your competition's going to do. So maybe you'll walk down the pits to just see what that tyre gauge had to say.
And talk to us a little about tyres. I mean, how many tyres would they have available? Possibly have used a new set there. Would they use that same set again now for race 2 a little bit later on?
A lot of the riders will actually swap out to a new set for race 2. They won't want to reuse the same set. Some would rather use what they had on qualifying to use for race 1. That would throw them a little bit further down the field. ensure that they can save a bit more, but you're going to look at running 3 to 4 sets of tires in one weekend with these bikes.
Yeah, and what's quite amazing is chatting to the riders over the last 2 days. They've actually been, some of them making their debut at Aldo Scribante. They're like, what are you going to do this weekend? They said, let's go ride Superbikes at Aldo Scribante. Many of them actually from PE returning, back to Abeja or Port Elizabeth PE and making their debut in the South African Superbike Series. It's quite incredible.
That's it, and we've also got different car clubs here today, and along with motorcycle riders coming and joining in. So we've got a lot of different clubs coming in, having a bit of fun. But our Porsches out on circuit. But leading out the pack is our Photon Proton that has been driving us around here in PE. I absolutely love the cars. Very snappy for what they are, but you've got these beautiful. Porsches around.
Plenty of Porsches racing as well you have this weekend, and of course with motorsport on the up here in South Africa, we're going to start to see more of the clubs being part of these race days, more of a festival to come as well. This of course the only stop for the year here at Aldo Scribante, so really coming out in their numbers. So we're going to have a commentary change soon because we've got our second Sports and GT race. Brendan and Prince will be stepping in a short while, and Steve and myself will be back for the Senior Club Race 1, the Superbike Race 1, and then of course the Superbike Race 2. Just to remind you, we've still got plenty to come here at Aldo Scribante. It's the 5 hours of Scribante night race. It's round 2 of the South African Endurance Series, and we go live on Supersport from 3:30. The race gets underway at 4, and we're looking forward to bringing you all of the action live here on our YouTube channel, and of course then live on Supersport. Prince joining me, he's been out and about chatting to the drivers, getting ready for all the action to come as we enjoy the sight of these beautiful Porsches on track. How's the vibe out there, young man?
I love how your segues are fantastic, because I was about to say, not a frown in sight. Everyone is just so happy to be here. And there's a sense of also relief about the behavior of the heavens this morning. And I'll quickly move on from that comment. Everyone's just very, very happy to be here and enjoy what is a roller coaster of a circuit. The bikes, of course, have shown what the circuit has to offer so far in terms of grip and how much they can push the bikes. Never really got to have a look at the action from the bikes, because I was just talking to people in the paddock and just getting a sense of the preparation going into the second race in the case of Sports and GT, but also the main race going down into the endurance race starting at 3:30. So we've got a couple of the Porsches for the Porsche parade that have come, bumped into one of them as I was coming on my way to commentary. But I wonder how many of them are going to be pushing super hard, Brendan, on this beautiful Aldo Scribante circuit.
I've actually just chatted to a lot of the drivers that are in the Porsches as well,
Awesome.
just to go and get them ready. And they've all, the burning question is, how fast are we allowed to go? How many laps? I said, well, it's a 10-minute session, so go out there, have some fun. Obviously, you don't want to do any kamikaze type moves out there, but a big welcome to the Porsche Club of Port Elizabeth. Fantastic to have them out on track. Some beautiful cars out there, so always welcome. And these guys really support all these initiatives at Scribante. The open days, the guys always bringing the Porsches out here. So very active Porsche club that we have got down here.
Yeah.
Just one of the many car clubs that we have in our area.
Oh, it's fantastic. I actually had the pleasure of being at the Killarney Raceway not 3 weeks ago or so, and we also had a similar scenario. We had some Porsche owners taking their cars out onto the circuit and giving it the beans, like they're absolutely committed. It seems to be the Porsche culture is in a good space, and I like to see more Porsches at actual racetracks. And the fact that we've got, I suppose there is a sort of symbiotic relationship between the owners who have your road-going cars and the kind of class that we're building here with SAES. I had a brief fleeting chat with Momia, and was just talking about how it's very accessible for Porsche owners, and it's an option that makes sense for someone who wants to race their car at a relatively competitive level, but also relatively significantly affordable, you know. And I think it's definitely going to be a good advert to see the showing of the Porsche Club here. It's definitely a good advert and incentive for Porsche owners out there who are watching and tentative, not too sure about their commitment to bringing their machinery out onto a circuit. You see other boys are doing it too, so come out and play.
just having a look there, I just caught a glimpse of Johan Kutsia. He's
Yeah.
behind the wheel of one of these Porsches, and a man who races a Porsche in the Historics and Classics as
There
well.
you go.
A beautiful 911 Carrera that he has got,
Yeah.
an absolutely stunning
Yeah.
car. So that's a short, sharp burst around the circuit. Looks like they're already peeling off. So that was the parade from the Porsche guys. I think they are back out on track at about 2:30 this afternoon,
Yes,
so we'll
yes.
get another glimpse of them coming out on circuit a little later this afternoon. But I'm obviously wearing more than one cap here this weekend. You'll
Yes.
notice the sweat is running.
Yes.
I've been already done a lot of steps around Scribante, just making sure that everything is all in place and all running a-okay. And obviously doing that, picking up the war stories around down the pit lane as well. There were a couple of cars that suffered some significant mechanical failure yesterday.
Yes.
And I'm glad to say that most of them are all sorted and ready to go again. So the excitement, the crowd's still coming in. It's fantastic. We've got Aldo FM broadcasting live from the track as well. So always great to have them supporting at the track, and then a whole host of exhibitors as well. Some car dealerships that have come in. We've got Standard Bank Vehicle and Asset Finance as well. Speed Equip are here along with Motul, and then Dry Ice International. Dry Ice International, the guys that have done a lot of work on the circuit. Dry Ice blasting the circuit to get rid of the layers of rubber that are on the main straight that gets put down from the drag car. So plenty that has been going on behind the scenes here. So it's now time to settle down, wear the commentary cap now, and enjoy the rest of the day's action. And action-packed it's certainly going to be. I've just had so many calls, social media messages and that from people wanting to know what the best time is to get out to the track. I said, well, you might as well have been here already. It's a full day's entertainment.
There you go.
But I'm sure we're going to see the place very full the closer it gets to 4 o'clock this afternoon for the start of the 5 hours of Aldo Scribante Raceway.
Yep, I've been spamming the invites as well. Plenty of opportunity for people to get out, plenty of time. Of course, the ticket's going to cost you nothing but 150 Rand for you to come and enjoy the day's action. And of course, the main event is at 3:30 to 4 p.m. That's where we're going to start, of course, our grid walk, and I have another parade as well. You did mention we're going to have the Porsche Club, of course, go out and parade just before we start our race. We're going to have a chance for them, and then later on we go live, not only on our YouTube stream, but of course on Supersport channel 215, and you can come and enjoy exactly that perfect spot on the side of the track, perched on the embankments, to see the beautiful Aldo Scribante circuit, which is an absolute blast. This circuit is just so fun. It's a roller coaster. You're just constantly doing something and concentrating on something. There is no real break until you get onto the main straight, which of course a lot of these cars are doing away with quite quickly. So it's a very, very fun and engaging circuit. And we got a chance to go out onto the circuit this morning, taken out for a hot lap. Racing drivers might argue it was a lukewarm lap, but hey, it's all relative. And I'm just shocked at the undulations, the elevation changes. You really don't get a sense of how busy the suspension, the bodywork of the car is going out on any one lap.
No, you're 100% correct. It's a driver's circuit, a real technical circuit. And you mentioned the undulations. It's the ideal track to run time attacks as well. And it is in the pipeline to have time attacks like they do at Swartkorps Raceway, anti-clockwise around the circuit. Not so much a king of the hill or top of the hill like we see at other circuits. It's a lot flatter than that, but certainly is an exciting initiative that the guys are looking at bringing the time attacks back into motorsport here at Aldo Scribante Raceway.
100%, and we're getting ready to attack the Sports and GT Race 20. I don't know if you can hear, we definitely can hear. We were right here on the pit lane, so not too far from the cars that are getting ready to go out now. We saw a bit of action from the likes. We've seen, of course, the likes of Andrew Horn, Mo Mia. We saw Nikki Dix, as well as Van Vuren, Charles Arangis as well in race 1, of course. All of them went out in the dark, which was quite interesting to see.
A very relaxed looking Charles Arangis this morning.
Yeah, he's in his shorts and his shades.
And very calm, collected, and he knows what he's got to go and do out there. So it's going to be interesting to see how Charles goes this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think the relaxed and laid-back demeanor says a lot, perhaps, about the confidence, knowing that he obviously is going to have the Sports and GT to sort of feel the track out and see where it's going. The temperatures won't be the same going in. I mean, we're we're not yet halfway through the day, so it's a bit cooler at the moment. But you definitely can tell the temperatures are still going to go up. So by the time we start our race, it's going to be a lot hotter. Conditions will be a little bit different. But we were preparing for a possible switch up in a 180 to a certain extent by this time of the day when it came to setup and testing and all of those things. But everything is within that same sort of bracket of conditions. So everyone here really is prepared going into the second race.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier on that the weather gods have played into our hands
Exactly.
as well. So bright sunshine at the moment, a slight little breeze just to cool things down a bit. But first car out on the track, Sun Woodley in the Bigfoot Express, car number 112, leading them out there. Right behind them, it was Mo Mia in the 786 car, that beautiful 786 car with all the decals from all of the racetracks around the world that Mo has been to. So a very, very neat looking 786.
Yeah, definitely neat looking, man. When you see it in the full glow of the sun, it's like in full glory.
Yeah.
Really, it is a beautiful looking car. Had a brief chat with not only Sun but Mo Mia as well, as they're pitted obviously in the same garage. Just looking forward to getting their chance now. Second go at it, of course. We saw a bit of action at that particular part of the circuit with Mo Mia, Nikki Dix as well as Andrew Horn, who capitalized on the coming together of Mo as well as Nikki Dix. The tarmac becomes a very small space that is difficult to navigate very, very quickly. But I haven't seen Andrew Horn there. If I'm not, it's not him. That's Van Vuren, if I'm not mistaken.
That looked like Van Vuren going through there.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, that is Van Vuren because we have 3 in total that are bright white Porsches, of course, and we've got the beautiful 991.2 MR Roy Aubrey there. I think is absolutely fantastic. It gets better with time. I remember the first time seeing this and hearing that MR moniker, the implications of that. There's the Lambo.
There's the Lambo leaving the pit lane now.
Yep. There it is. So the Sporting GT, of course, is a nice amalgamation of all the beautiful machinery that we have here on the circuit. And oh man, speaking of stunning cars, like you just really, everywhere you look, you're likely to land on a couple million rands worth of just the most beautiful racing machinery that there is to offer.
Damien Hammond just trying to get as much heat into the tyres as possible. A little bit of a late start there for him to get out to the grid lineup.
Yeah. And let's see, he's trying profusely to warm up his tyres and make sure that by the time he gets to the grid, they're at a decent enough temperature. Of course, you saw how he flew away with it in the night race, which really set a benchmark for him. He's going to try and match up with now, but tells you just he's happy with the performance of the car, and it's going to bode well for him going into the rest of the day's racing should it continue in the fashion that it is in now. You can see Wayne, that's Sun Moodley's head mechanic there, just making sure everything is going cool. Being cool at the moment is an important thing because the temperature, you can see the glare and the heat in the distance there. It really is going up in temperature. I mean, you're constantly sort of squinting your eyes and have your brow all folded up as you're walking outdoors. So temperature really going up now, and it's going to affect the racing drivers 100%. So they have to be wary of this, the way they do that. Okay, there's Andrew Horn. Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't see
Andrew.
him because the car's so low.
So low, yeah, we lost it. We lost it on track in race 1 yesterday.
Yeah.
But Damien Hammond slotting in his Lamborghini Hurricane behind Andrew Horn. So looks like we're all lined up ready to go. You notice the little gentle breeze, and fantastic to see the amount of spectators that are in already. It is going to be very, very busy out here at Aldo Scribante Raceway this weekend.
Yeah.
And great to see how many people have already come in. The feature race, as we mentioned, will be starting at 4 o'clock this afternoon. That will be the 5 hours. The South African Endurance Series, round number 2 of their series, starting at 5 o'clock and then running into night under the lights at Aldo Scribante.
100%. And of course, we do have the race within the race. The 1 hour dash is running simultaneously with the 5 hours of Aldo Scribante. So at the 1 hour mark, the 1 hour dash competitors, some of which are in this race, are going to peel off at the signal of the MSA flag, which the first of these cars takes would be then the winner of the class. So that is going to be a nice, interesting twist for the entire grid, which particularly the part of the grid that is doing the full 5 hours and isn't necessarily keen on making a pit stop at the hour mark, because that's either an opportunity for a pit stop and a break, or it's something that's a bit of an interruption and a hindrance, depending on who benefits from the 1 hour mark. Yeah.
And the local boys have played it clever there. The Scribante team.
Yes.
Aldo Scribante is going to do the first part of the race. He's doing the 1 hour dash, so it will be a compulsory stop for them to have a driver change.
Yes.
And then his brother Silvio sharing the drive with him, along with our local superstar Michael Stephen in the mix as well. So that's a nice local flavour. We've also got another local man in Pieter van Heerden. He's in the 88 car. And they've been plagued with problems at Toyota Almeza with the Lexus V8 engine in, but they're quietly confident that they've got it sorted out. So hopefully we will see them out taking part. He's sharing the drive, Pieter van Heerden, with Marco de Cunha and Sergio Alvarez as well. So lots of activations going on around there. Great to have Vodacom for you. They've got their slot car track. I know you were in a ding-dong battle yesterday.
Yeah.
Still got the right
thumb position. Keep the thumb position. That's all. It's all in the thumbs. And there we go. Getting ready for that sports and GT race. Our competitors in number 57, Samlin Racing Lamborghini with Damien at the wheel. He bumped into him on his way to his pits. Looked very focused, very serious, and he's trying to channel his energy into the day's racing. So there's a lot of work for them. Of course, this is going to help going into the rest of the day for him to know exactly how this car can perform and test its limits to some extent. The driver's limits in terms of being able to detect that very low-profile Ligier is also something that's going to be tested, because you have to be wary and especially very, very aware and savvy to exactly where Andrew Horn is, as well as your fellow Porsche competitors. So your mind is just jumping between those two prospects going into places like the hairpin, where we saw with Momia yesterday.
Mo under lots and lots of pressure.
Yeah.
Actually, I felt for him. He was glancing left, glancing right, because that Ligier was all over the back of him, and unfortunately just arriving at the corner just a little bit too fast and outbraking himself, and unfortunately just tagging the back of Nicky Dix's Porsche and bringing a premature stop to the race there. But hopefully they've got that all sorted out. Nicky Dix in the GT3 Cup car, 911.2. That is car number 137. He was in a ding-dong battle with Momia, and just ahead of them was Charles Orangi. So hopefully we're in for a lot more of that. It was a bit of a runaway victory, as Prince mentioned earlier on, the Lamborghini winning by, I think it was about a over 12-second margin, but slotting right behind him, the 54 of Charles Orangi's. And I'm sure it's going to be a different story this time around. It's a quietly confident Charles Orangi's that was walking down the pit lane.
Yeah, and with the lights out, it's going to be a loudly confident number 57, Samlin Racing Lamborghini, taking the whole shot. Away from Charles Orangi's goes Damien Hammond. That wasn't difficult. And Charles now would have to make himself as wide as possible, because it looks like Nicky Dix, who might have a look if he should find an opportunity. And Dix leads from Momia right behind him. In the meantime, Charles Orangi is looking late on the brakes and catching up to Damien Hammond, going into that chicane there. And now we've got that dip right there. It makes such a huge difference. You can see the car just tucking under and sort of putting so much pressure and compressing onto their suspension. And Charles Orangi is still trying to chase down Hammond, but of course that's a fight that is quickly getting unwinded. That concertina effect is immediately gone, and Charles Orangi is now probably focusing on the Porsches behind him. The first of which belongs to Nicky Dix, who is making some room between himself and Momia.
So Charles Orangi's in the number 54 Porsche that slots into second place, chasing down the Lamborghini that leads out front. Missing in action in this race, we saw race number one, the Ford Mustang that jumped in there.
Yes.
But I think that was more just a test session for those guys, and then they withdrew before the end of the race. But that's an exciting car to watch, and I look forward to following the progress of the Ford Mustang for the rest of the afternoon when we get to the South African Endurance Series round number 2.
Look at that. Charles Orangi, slightly different line as compared to Damien Hammond coming out of turn 2 there. Now going down into the hairpin again. Look at the tuck of the nose under braking. You can see it's almost instant. Bit of a bow to acknowledge just how fun one just a nod. Look, there it is, same thing. Another tap going out on the outside, just on the wide part of that turn at the end of the hairpin. You can see just how much, again, the elevation changes and the bumps as well. Because it's not just a smooth ride as the elevation is changing. So all those sort of compressions, the up and down of the suspension there, it really is genuinely a reflection of the track surface. What each and every racing driver has to concentrate on. So getting your braking marker is important. And I guess it becomes muscle memory as to where which bump is coming.
Yeah, I'm just watching Andrew Horn in that Ligier lining up Roy Overy. He had tucked right in behind him and just had a momentary look on the left hand, on the right hand side, go through on the inside. So it's I think it's just a matter of time before we see that the Ligier having a stab on the inside of Roy Overy in the 911 Porsche, beautifully turned out Porsche. Just in the background there, here he is. You can see later under braking, are we going to see him have a go? Camera angle just swung away from him to focus on Nicky Dix as he goes through, but still Roy Overy with the advantage over Andrew Horn in the Ligier, that very low Ligier car number 313, beautifully turned out car, putting lots and lots of pressure on the back of the Porsche of Roy Overy at the moment. The lead that we have.
As we look at Andrew Horn kicking up some dust at the final corner,
running wide there as well.
What is going on?
Over the curbs, yeah, they're certainly having a go at him.
A little bit bumpy, just a little bit.
Damien Hammond, quickest car out on track at the moment, a 1:01.3 for Damien Hammond, and already a 5-second lead that he's opened up on the opening couple of laps of the race. Still got 12 laps to go in the race. They go through Proton Corner there now. Focusing once again on Andrew Horn in that Ligier.
Yeah,
see that Roy Overy has got away from him now.
Yeah.
Those couple of curb incidents that he had have just pegged him back a little.
Yeah, it's Nicky Dix now behind Charles Rangi's there Charles Rangi is the first of the Porsches, and Nicky Dix would be the second. Of course, Damien Hammond is in another race entirely. The livery that, in terms of combination of colours, slightly resembles that Nicky Dix 911. Geez, such an array of different interpretations and iterations of what effectively is the same thing. Track weapons side by side with Roy Overy.
Roy taking a bit of a tighter line there. I think he was actually just trying to shut Andrew Horn down a bit. We watched Charles Rangi's Mo and Nicky Dix running wide out of turn 7 onto the straight, but Roy Overy having to take a lot tighter line there just to defend the racing line because he knew that Andrew Horn was coming through.
Yeah, through goes Rangi's for now. He's going to be approaching hairpin shortly. Let's see how he prefers to take this line. It's not full on going into the apex for a lot of the racing drivers, and seems to be the rule of thumb at least. But you also got to read the situation at the time, because you've got a case of marbles and where the proper grip is, at which point you want to place your car. It really varies going into the race. But given that this is still early days, haven't had much running, they're going to be establishing and laying a bed, I guess, for the rest of the racing drivers to sort of take advantage of when it comes to grip.
He's absolutely 100% spot on there. He has a look at once again. Roy Overy running it a bit wider this time around, but I'm almost sure when they get to turn 5, we're going to see Andrew Horn late on the brakes, just outbraking him in the hairpin.
Yeah.
And Roy Overy knows that he has got lots and lots of problems just behind him. Andrew Horn tucking in behind that big back wing of the Overy Porsche, and just keeping them completely honest at this stage. I think when they get up to 7, they're heading up to Hangar now. Through Hangar they go down that short little back straight, and this is where
down the inside.
They have a look down the inside. Not going to happen this time around, but it looks like he's obviously shown his intent, and he just needs to get a little bit closer. And I reckon on the next lap we will see an overtake move going. We've got 10 laps left in the race, so still ample time.
And Andrew's a bit of a thorn in Roy Overy's side at the moment, because his times were actually quite impressive, doing better times than Roy. So now it's a bit of a rivalry there, because now Roy knows that his good mate behind him is quick enough to actually trouble him. So we're going to see a respectful back and forth between the two of them. Now, if you see the flashing Roy's lights here, you really don't get a sense of just how bright those things are during the day. At night, it is incredibly bright. And the racing drivers are describing just how it's difficult then at that point, say you're under braking now, right? And you've got a bright beam of lights all up in your cockpit. You have to pretty much use muscle memory to know exactly where to hit the brake marker and turn in, because sight is nothing to go by just because of how bright those lights are.
Yeah, we mentioned Mo last night. There were lots of onboard footage from Mo's car last night, and you get a sense of the feel of it from the car behind him, the brightness of the lights behind him. And I believe we've got onboard cameras in all of the cars for tonight's action for the 5 hours of Aldo. Oh, spinner! Mo unfortunately getting it wrong. Exit in turn 7 onto the main straight, gets it all wrong, and Roy Overy and Andrew Horn brilliantly somehow managed to miss him. So
that was close. That was so close, and also that comes in tow of learning that we lost 373. That is Van Vuren, who we haven't seen. And remember, he was trailing on the formation lap. He was far behind. Yeah. And it seems he wasn't able to complete the race. So I wonder what the issue is there. But going forward, we're gonna have to, there we go. We're gonna have to get a picture now of what happened there with Mo at the hairpin.
Oh, he's already out of shape there, hitting the curb there, and they lost the back of the car.
Yeah, just turn 7,
Yeah, just a little bit too tight there, attacking the apex a little more vigorously than he should have, and just losing the back end of the car, started bouncing, and then basically just became a passenger there.
He does have a chance to redeem himself. One more of these sporting GT races to go for him, and more, I suppose, Van Vuren would appreciate it more because he's now totally out of this one. So he's going to be preparing, I'd imagine, immediately for race 3 later on today. That's at around 1, just after lunch. So just after lunchtime, they're going to be getting things underway again for the final race for the day. But in the meantime, it is the number 57 Lamborghini of Damon Hammond, which is out of frame, out of sight, out of mind, with 1 minute. 1 minute point 8 is the best time set by that Lamborghini. And in second place is Oranges. There's that Lamborghini, that beautiful Lamborghini, number 57 there. It's under braking now, going out into 7. Look at that! Oh, look at that!
16-second lead that he has opened up over the rest of the field. So massive lead for Damon Hammond out front. Also running it a little bit wider there.
Yeah.
So try as he may, Charles Orangi is not managing to close up on him, but then leading out the Porsche section of the race.
Moodley versus Daisel there.
Oh, he gets overtaken, change of position there. JJ Daisel moving ahead of Sun Moodley.
Yeah, late braking there, fair from Mo. Of course, they don't want to compress the corner too much. They steer clear of the curb at the sweep and not too wide going down into turn 7 now. The variety of just how late these racing drivers go, that's rather wide as compared to some of the lines I've seen, but it seems to be working for at least JJ Daisel at the moment, having passed Mo, I beg your pardon, Sun Moodley. Again, that's Hammond out of sight for the time being. Is going to be looking at the laps. We've got 6 of the 9 laps that we've had. So 6 laps across for this 9-lapper. So not too long to go for him to collect. There we go. There's that mark. Now we've got 5 laps remaining. So we still have some distance actually. So he still could add to that 16-second gap that he's got so far.
I reckon at this stage he could just dial it in and back off a little bit. A big lead like that he has opened up over the rest of the field. Still, Charles Orangi is running in second, Nicky Dix third, Roy Overy up into third place with Andrew Horn still chasing hard behind him, and then a recovery drive from Mo Mio with JJ Daisel behind him.
Okay, giving you now a proper shot of what a complete lap looks like for a car that is just driving in anger as it navigates in the dips, in the tucks of the circuit. You're going to see it just now, just before the sweep. Look how much of a dip going down it is there. You really don't see it from a distance, but it's actually quite a lot. So for him to dab on the brakes lightly there at the sweep, it really requires for him to have a strong mastery of exactly where to make that braking application. It's still Horn and Aubrey behind, watching Nicky Dix from afar. Nicky will be watching that race and aware of what's going on behind him, and thankful to an extent, because now Aubrey has to do so much extending of the width of his 991.2.
Just watching them go through the sweep there, if you think back to last year, the torrential rain that we had has virtually formed a dam down in that part of the circuit. There was a massive mini lake that formed there, and a lot of work having gone into the circuit since then with the upgrade of the drainage around the track, which we saw working perfectly yesterday. Just one or two puddles that formed on the track in the little indentations out in the circuit, but the circuit in great shape at the moment.
Yeah. It's like fitting in that I described the circuit as a bowl earlier on. It can catch a lot of water, but thankfully the facilities accommodate for that and make sure it's as clear as possible when the heavens open up over the Aldo Scribante circuit. And it's still, again, that battle that it ebbs and flows. It's like an elastic band stretching between these two. And Andrew Horn is just not letting up. And Nicky Dix seems to have lost a bit of time, or Aubrey, as well as Andrew Horn are getting quicker in their battle.
Yeah, I think with we've got 3 laps left, it should. Oh, let's go on board with Mo, and as I mentioned, a recovery drive from him down in 6th place at the moment. But his onboard footage just adds such a beautiful extra dimension to the race. I can see exactly what's happening inside the vehicle. You mentioned, I mean, Charles Visser, the body. Just look at you see the body shape, the positions,
signature language.
These guys are absolute masters at their game. So we watch Damien Hammond. Massive lead. His lead having grown to over 23 seconds now. He's just got that Lamborghini on rails.
Yep, absolutely. And you get a picture of how different his line is there. His seemed more of a V as compared to the rounded shape of the Porsches that we've seen go around at the final turn at 7 there. So different approach to it. And we've got 2 laps to go, of course, now, and he will be thinking of that checkered flag. And I suppose making mental notes. What can this car do? What can't it do? And learning more and adding more layers to the learning. He kicks up dust, does Roy Aubrey at the exit of the sweep, but still keeps a position ahead of his good mate Andrew Horn. And it's still the same, really. Andrew Horn showing his nose, trying to tuck there on the exit of turn 7 onto the home straight, but nothing for him to take as Roy Aubrey was able to recover.
The gap between 3rd and 4th, Dix and Aubrey, just 0.2 of a second. So keep an eye on that as we're on the penultimate lap of the race now. So I think we could maybe see a late lunge from Roy Aubrey on Nicky Dix.
Yeah, a late lunge is also the return of Van Vuuren, who's back out into the circuit, 7 laps behind, but he's going to finish anyway, and that's the spirit of racing driver. There you go, you get a picture of, you can see the body rolling and tucking as Mo has to concentrate on getting that left hand steering input in. There's Van Vuuren now. He's back out onto the circuit and making sure he gets to finish this race too. It's going to make a difference for him, of course, in terms of championship standings. I see Roy Aubrey going down inside of Nicky Dix. Oh, had a look there, but there goes Andrew Horn on the inside of Aubrey, realizing that Dix would block off the path of Roy Aubrey on the exit there.
That's going to be an interesting
drag race.
Interesting drag race. So finish that drag race now. He's got to back out.
Of course.
He's got to back out there.
Oh, that was nice, really nice timing there from Andrew Horn. He saw an opportunity. Didn't quite materialize because Roy Aubrey found some space and was able to open up the car behind Nicky Dix.
And make it suddenly slightly wider as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So protecting, great defensive driving there, protecting that race line. As the checkered flag comes out, race win going to Damon Hammond in the Lamborghini Hurricane.
Yep. Masterful for Hammond, and it's exactly what he's expected. Probably has a benchmark set for him from yesterday's race, and he does exactly the same now. As Roy Aubrey goes slightly wide with the prospect of the back marker Van Vuuren behind him, but Nicky Dix has done well to steer clear of that battle. Oh, now Andrew Horn has Van Vuuren in front of him, so he couldn't for one more time be the thorn in Roy Aubrey's side going into the battle that's been going on all race long, really. But it is Hammond in first place, Ranji's in second. Nicky Dix takes 3rd place, the final podium position, and Roy Aubrey secures that 4th, having fought off his good mate Andrew Horn in 5th place.
Our 6th place finisher will be Mo Meer. He's going to cross the line just ahead of JJ Daisel, and Sutton Woodley suddenly he seemed to drop off the pace a little bit And then great to have Andrew van Vieren had got back out, Andre van Vieren got back out onto the circuit and will be classified as a finisher, and we'll obviously see him a little later in race number 3.
Yeah, and you mentioned in passing the feature of that Mustang IRC. That was an interesting observation. I just want to compare actually the lap times, because at peak, Mustang came to a 1:02, and the closest to that, it was slightly faster actually than Charlotte Ranges with the 1:03's best time now. But different conditions, it was nighttime as well, so that may have been a factor as well.
Yep, Hammond taking the win, Ranges in second, Nicky Dix rounding out the top 3.
All kinds of fumes of smoke. Eh? You get the exhaust out on the circuit, and then you get the one most people prefer, which is a braai. So I'm pretty sure when you arrive on the circuit, you can smell the braai is already running, up and running at the moment. That's a beautiful position to be on the circuit and catch the racing.
That's the outside of Hangar, the outside of the circuit on the embankments, and certainly going to be a popular place there, as well as the S's. The S's are already jam-packed.
Yep.
You can't fit another person in there. And the braai fire has already been lit, and the smell's starting to waft across the circuit.
Yeah, it'll be difficult to concentrate because as you're passing that hangar section, and if you have your window open enough, you're gonna smell something apart from your engine. So that's exactly how you want to enjoy your racing, out in the sun, and it's a full day, so there's plenty of time for you to bring your family, bring your friends, bring your camp chairs, and get comfortable. Find a decent spot on the circuit and enjoy just like that. Make sure you bring a sunscreen too, because it is
pretty warm out there.
Sweltering.
It's starting to warm up nicely.
Yeah, sweltering, absolutely sweltering. But yeah, beautiful day of racing ahead. That's Momia. The onboard is fantastic. Now we're in the pits, in his garage there with Momia. That's exactly where we were chatting. He was telling us about the night race, but you get a picture of, you can see he's got his water bottle as well, connected all the way with his helmet. That fixture's on. The beams are going across the car. They're on the chassis. Also, I'm trying to see what's down there. So some cooling, some vents. There's so much going on. You've got some cameras as well. Of course, apart from the onboard, which is now on the front, you've also got, oh man, the disappointment. Oh geez, yeah. You can see how much it means to him. You can see the passion for racing. It just never goes away. It just gets more and more. And we're chatting to him and Son Moodley. You can tell they're equally as enthusiastic as they were when they first started racing. I mean, Son Moodley was joking about how he's still going to make his F1 debut. So he's working on.
He certainly has slimmed down a lot. We
You get
mentioned
me,
that
see.
yesterday. He has slimmed down a lot. But Mo,
see.
I just my heart breaks for him there. You know, just the disappointment. You won't find a nicer guy in the pit lane. He was always
100%.
willing to chat. Always a wealth of information. And well, that's a debate for another day that we'll have. But Mo, unfortunately, but great to see. And you know, with those onboard cameras, we wouldn't normally see that. So just once again, just another step forward with the coverage. So brilliant. I believe we have got we did mention earlier cameras in virtually all the cars for the endurance race later. So that's going to be great to see.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Get a full perspective of not only the day's racing but the night racing as well, and just how much, again, that glare, man. During the night, I mean, we got to see the night practice, of course, happened as well, so we got to see exactly what it takes and what the cars sound like, how they're performing in those conditions as it gets cooler, and the traffic is going to be an interesting one, because there was a moment, not only in the day but also at night, I think, where the pit lane looked crazy during a transition in between sessions where some of the cars were coming out. So the pit stops are going to be an interesting thing in how they're timing. I mean, every racing driver has to do 33% shared across with the teammates. So 3 drivers each get 33% of the time spent in the car, and that's about 1 hour 40, if I'm not mistaken, around about the 1 hour 40 mark, which is more than was done at round 1, which is about 1 hour 20. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how teams time that to avert the traffic and get into the night racing when we get into the endurance. But we've got some of the bikes coming out now for their session and their go at the rest of the day's program. course, this is the Open Superbikes in the Unlimited class. And the MRSSA is getting underway. They've been a fantastic addition to the SAES calendar. Had a couple of chats with a number of them, the likes of Boshoff, who's performing so well. Had a chat with a number of young bikers, and their thing is tires. Everyone is moaning about how it's my tires, bro, my tires, the tire life that we have. And of course, we are going to have an excited addition to the commentary team a bit later on. It's going to be a bit of a surprise, but for now we're going to change over. Of course, Steve Koenig is going to be at the helm for this particular race with the Open and Unlimited bikes. And, the formation lap is coming to an end not too long from now for the beginning of the race. And Steve, I'd like to get what's your thermometer saying? What are your feelers giving you? I had a walk out on into the pits talking to some of the riders. What's your take on their feel for the rest of the day?
Well, all the riders are absolutely excited to see what's happening and who's going to be able to charge their way up through the order. But now this is the club racing. So these are your novices, people that are within their first year of racing, for one, or they are not as quick as the riders of our previous class, being the SBK 600, 1000, bots and masters. So they're going to be having a bit of fun out here. But these are some incredible pieces of machinery, unlimited, so they are unrestricted in their bikes as well. So there isn't all the lots of trying to slow them, well, not really slow them down, but just going and allowing for everyone to bring different bikes throughout their garages, come have some fun, also learn how to race and ride against one another. But nonetheless, it is some incredible action. And this is a progression into our more of the penultimate, being our seniors.
Yeah, Steve, good to be back with you. Thank you to Brendan and Prince. And they're going to go and get some stories for us. Of course, they're going to be back because Sports and GT Race 3 still to come for us before we start our big build-up. We've, of course, got our next two categories, Race 1 for the weekend. And we might have a special guest joining us. We'll wait to see. We are looking forward to it. Look how many bikes are on the grid. Looking fantastic.
Absolutely what we love to see for the MRSSA. But it is going to be an interesting one because this is where you're going to have to really step up your game, get a little bit more pace. And we also saw a couple of riders trying to get themselves all organized for the start, revving it up, get to about 5,000, 6,000 RPM before you put the hammer down and get going as fast as you can to launch off a line.
Right, Christian Carvalho, he's on pole position. David Veringa in alongside him. Nicole Purificati on the front row. All set to go then. It's race 1 for the senior clubs. Open Superbikes and Unlimited. Red lights and off we go.
Absolutely great stuff here. Chabalala also trying to get a good start at the back to move his way up through the order. But it is Nicole getting a huge run to make her way through. Dave Veringa around the outside, more than happy to get on the power early on, try and get a clear running. He knows that Christian Carvalho is going to hunt him down at a rate of knots. The two of them have a bit of history going on long circuit and short circuit in motorcycle racing throughout South Africa.
Beautiful view here of the second half of the S's. The drivers now head towards the ocean. A little bit of a left and right. This is the famous hangar. We've seen some big accidents here over the years onto that bank on the far side. This is now a shot out at the hairpin as the large field, 22 bikes, comes through for the first time at hairpin. But out in front, very familiar BMW Superbike colours and leading the pack.
Christian Carvalho trying to make his way through. That is number 12, though, that's also making his way through the pack. And that is Mahlabo, who has been on an absolute rocket ship to try and move his way up through the order. Some great runs in recent times.
They're starting 11th on the grid, so really making their way up here as they come flying down the main straight. So, Steve, just for our neutral fans, just give us an understanding of the differences between our first Superbike race of the morning and this one. What's the sort of difference speed-wise?
So these are unrestricted. So these are your 1000cc, 1300s, all getting
bigger bikes,
much bigger bikes. It's also going and allowing riders that are really stepping up the pace. They're within 120% of their club category, which we did, well, this is the club category, they're within 120% of the category we saw beforehand. So not quite on pace, but getting there, and you want to falter your way through. So a lot of these riders are looking to break out and get into the sharp order of the field. There's also more of a novice class a little bit further up. Think of it as a feeding series at the point.
Yeah, typically you're going to see lots of Yamaha YZF R6s, there's a couple of R1s out here, very popular BMW 1000 RRs, and one or two Suzukis and Hondas as well. So nice mix of bikes as they go through now. And it's still Caravallo who leads the way. Started on pole position with a 104, and last time out doing a 103.5. But we've got to go down number 6.
Now, number 6 down, and that is Governor, all up and going. It looks like the front just washed out underneath them. But that's why we wear all the safety gear, to make sure that we can walk away just fine. But definitely a bit of disappointment there.
Right, we'll keep an eye on that. Are they going to be able to recover that, or will they stop the race? It is on a critical point there on the final corner on the outside there, so that's not going to be an easy place to recover the bike as the leaders now come through towards that section. It's the sweep now, and then straight towards that incident. So keep an eye on the flags. It's red flag. Right, we're getting an update here. Well, we've got officials in the studio with us letting us know that they're going to have to red flag that race. Yeah, there we go. Hands are out.
So red flag procedures, you move off the racing line, you then gently slow the bike down. The reason why we move off the racing line is purely on the fact that anyone that hasn't seen the red flag has an open room to get by, so avoiding any collisions. That is a new addition that got put in by round 1. So you'll see a lot of the riders putting their hands out, just informing red flag, but they also move to the right-hand side as per the MSA GCRs released.
Right, and just run us through procedure. I mean, that bike looked like it wanted to dive into the pits, but they'll actually just make their way around to the starting grid.
A gentle stop on the grid, and they will have to wait it out. They'll recover the likes of Governor's bike fairly easily. It doesn't look like it was buried in the ground. The rider's up and going. A quick, just grab the handlebars, move it across, and we'll be back in.
Now, we have seen on a busy schedule like we have today that sometimes the races won't restart, but this looks, as you mentioned, a quick little fix and go, and that's quite important because the guys will want to be out there. There we go, just confirmation.
So riders pulled in for a bit of clear air. Now they're going to go and get that bike up and sorted, move it across into the pit lane. The riders will have a chance to do an outlap, stop, restart, as they didn't complete their mandatory of 60% in the race.
Yeah.
So they've only done 2 laps.
Just quickly, you see a Shabalala there in screen. Into Africa Racing, not a Lamborghini though. This is one of the success stories coming through from the series. Tell us about that.
So see a very, very young rider, 16 years old.
16.
Going and showing off what he can do. Got picked up by the Inter Africa. Mr. Lataka walked over and said, listen, there's a big future for you in the world of riding. Going and working incredibly hard at school, has the very stern warning of dad saying, if you don't get those 80%, you're not racing. But the love to get to MotoGP in the future, follow in the steps of Brad Binder, and going and beating out both Binder brothers. So a bit of a success story that we're going to be following through from the MRSSA. And I've got to say, an absolute gentleman, very, very calm, not showing off egos, wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah. So we're under red flag conditions because Malcolm Govender, who started back in 19th place on the grid, he unfortunately has spun out on the final corner, just out of shot. And just to mention, these bikes are quite incredible. They really consider the fact they could fall. So they've actually got a couple of protective gear on the side of the bike to prevent breaking perhaps a brake, a lever, or damaging the handlebars and even the engine. They've actually got a couple of sort of braces on the side of it.
That's the thing. They've got one protecting the handlebars because one, if you come down, you're going to catch a brake, you clutch, and you'll end up snapping it. Also, it helps protect the rider's hands. So that's quite a helpful part. You'll also have on the side of the engine, they've got almost just little stops. So when they come down, lying down, it's not going and resting on the engine or resting on the exhaust. Also, because it saves a good bit of money, rather go and bend a cheap piece of metal than, well, titanium exhaust for one.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
This is the handy little features that have come through to help protect the riders, protect the bikes, and also make sure that they can get up and going easier. As we've seen, a couple of riders are able to drop their bikes, bring it back up, and get back onto the circuit.
Yeah, recovery vehicle making their way around the track. Still early here at Aldo Scribante, just passing 11 o'clock. Of course, we've got a big program to come. We're busy with race 1 in the various Superbike categories. This is the senior clubs. We've got the junior Superbikes up next. And then we've had the senior Superbike. So while we have this moment, just help our viewers understand the 3 categories. We've mentioned now the difference between the club and the Superbikes. Our senior Superbikes really is the top dogs, if you like. And these club guys will want to use this as a stepping stone to get into that. Now tell us about the race that's coming up next, the junior Superbikes.
So the juniors is a novice class as well that you want to try and progress through, but it's a little bit more restricted on what you can and can't have. It does fall into where you want to be versus the prep, where likes of our open right now is whatever you got in the garage, bring it through, come and have a bit of fun. So we will see our next class having the same type of machinery to duke it out with our top runners. But added to the fact, we also got our classics that are going to be going out a little bit later, which is just stunning.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is then the number 6, the BMW being recovered. And looks like they're actually going to take it away. That's actually the entry into the pits on the side there. Specially built trailer here with the recovery vehicle. They'll slide it up there, they'll tie it down and be able to get back to the pits. And you don't quite get to see it there, that little bit of protection we talked about. But great to see that the little winglet's still very much in place there. So despite this fairly serious accident, for most, the bike's pretty recoverable. They're able to get back onto track quite easily.
And fun fact, Adolf has actually got spares. So he's going to make sure that bike gets up and going.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how, if there's one bike that gets damaged, they're able to put it back together. Everyone goes and finds spares. I go back to the likes of Troy. He landed up falling off, had an entire dash cluster missing. And guys went and said, oh, no, I've got a spare one in the trailer. Walks back with the entire dash cluster, plugs it in. There we go, ready to go racing.
It's been a bit of a theme, though, because just quickly jumping ahead to the 5 hour, the Corridus VW had an engine failure. They got one of the local guys here. Remember, this is VW land. They've been working through the night, putting a brand new engine in. So very much on that kind of generous, we're a big family, a motorsport fraternity, we're going to help each other out kind of thing.
Well, they emphasize that, and especially for the novice classes, they want to help grow the sport, help saying, come through, this is how you do it. A lot of teaching goes on as well, especially with the open superbikes. These are the novices jumping onto bigger bikes, but they need to ensure that they get themselves organized, sorted, and they want them to go and fight out the likes of Adolf a little bit further on.
So just remind us of the restarting procedures. We look at another one of those beautiful BMWs there with its, for many of us, familiar now because of the success of BMW and World Superbikes from last year, World Champions, of course. What's the restart? Is it their last lap, that's their starting procedure, or do they go back to the grid?
They go back to grid positions due to they've only done 2 laps. So going to cycle around, get a bit of heat into the tires and brakes, get ready on the start line, rev it up, drop the clutch, and go yet again.
I just want to quickly mention there's some great shots across the track. Aldo Scribante being one of those unique circuits in South Africa where you can get inside the track with your vehicle and then you can literally drive around to watch various corners. There's some that are very popular. You're going to struggle to get a spot now at the hairpin, at the S's, and then of course the sweep as well, very popular spots, but this is what makes it so friendly. You can see just all their spectators walking up and down the pits here, and after a bit of rain yesterday, we've had some blustery wind. We're looking at absolutely sublime conditions for racing, and there's the city in the background. You'll see the hills, the ocean in fact is just over that hill in the distance there. That's the wild side, we call it here in Nelson Mandela Bay, and it is all set to go for some glorious racing. Quickly, just have a look quickly at the Ford Mustang there that's being brought out. What's happening there with the 27?
So going to be getting a little bit of refueling done on the side, but also maybe just wanting to get a bit of a shot at the bikes. Go and take a look. I mean, why not? What we got the MRSSA, the Franco Di Matteo team, the racing team going and working hard, the GRD pit crew of big fans of motorcycles, so they're going to be looking at this and getting ready to rock and roll yet again. Now, the question is, can Cristian Carvello get that fantastic start yet again? Will Varinga have learned all the tricks
from the
likes
first
of
restart?
Mr. King going and chasing him down as well, and Sia Chabalala looking to push forward. Nicole Perificati, unfortunately, getting the worst of the start, now has an opportunity to go back again.
Yeah, she dropped down to 6th position after those first 2 laps, so she'll go back onto the front row and look for an improved start now. And we'll get confirmation of the laps. Looks like we've got a little board there, perhaps saying 6 laps to go. So that looks like it's confirmed there. So it's going to be a little 6-lap dash. Of course, the riders need to now resume into their original positions, which can be a bit confusing because you've got all this gear on. You're looking down. Where's these numbers? They're painted in yellow on the grid. And look at the heat haze starting to form. Conditions really warming up here at Aldo Scribante.
The only problem now is those tyres are starting to cool down rather rapidly. So the first lap's going to be a little bit more ginger before they get going. So had a nice little warm-up, but it's now trying to get themselves reorganized, get going, and get your head back into the game. That's the hardest part, because if you get a little bit too much power here, yes, you do have assistance when the wheelie comes in. It goes and backs the power off, drops the front wheel down on the bikes, but that is a loss of time. Any power taken away means that you ain't going to get
Give us a little insight into, I mean, we know these bikes are super powerful, but you mentioned there's an anti-wheelie. There's so much electronics on it. We were looking at some of these bikes. I mean, you could make a phone call while you were riding around the track. Yeah, they're so sophisticated. But here we go, back to racing now. Red lights. Steve, take us into it. 6 laps to go.
And a ginger start, a terrible run for Christian Calvello off the start.
Yeah, it looks like the warm-up lap, yeah.
He's just trying to get himself all organized. A gentle warm-up lap to start off. And you're really trying to just figure out where the bites in the clutch is. And I think all the riders are starting to feel that the heat will be bleeding into these leathers. And your body temperature starting to rise. 36 going into 40 degrees easily. And it just soaks in for the likes of Christian Calvello, all black in the beautiful sun at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting actually walking around the pits and chatting to the teams. Lots of laughter, really enjoying themselves, some of them having a little snooze. Many of them have had a little wipeout this weekend already and didn't bring a second set of leathers. So you notice, I'm like, what's going on? Yeah, you've actually wiped out, but they carry on. They're quite like a robust bunch of bikers. They're just like, well, not bikers, riders.
I think these are going to be some very interesting times for our riders. I know that there's going to be someone busy gritting their teeth as they're hearing that, but it's going to be an exciting time for the championship. That being said, massive scoring of points here can be had by all our riders looking to charge their way to the sharp end of the field.
All right, so confirmation then, 6 laps to go, a little bit of a warm-up, and we're all set to go then. This is race 1 for our senior club race. Remember, we still got the junior superbike race to come. Those are our classics and the sub 500s. And right, Steve, you're going to take us into it. Here we go. It's resumption of race number 1. We've got 6 laps, and we've got the man on pole, Caravello, who should be looking to lead them out down to the first corner.
He's got his long-term rival, Varinga, going and lining up. Lights on, lights off, and away they go, trying to push the front down, ensuring they can get going. And Calvello going and locking down the inside apex as Varinga's going to try and go around the outside. Got closed off as they power their way through. King trying to make his way up through the order, not getting the best of starts into turn 1.
Right, so we had a bike that went straight off there, perhaps missing their braking spot. But we are racing here at Aldo Scribante. And it's that beautiful BMW through the S's for the first time. And we saw Shabalala there with the Inter-Africa Racing colours going through. They go down, dip to the left, to the right, that's just the hanger. And then on the back top straight there, this is the highest point of the track. Some view spectators starting to pile in there on the right, setting up their gazebos and bras. And looking forward to a great day's racing. Now, for the first time, they'll drop down a little hill. You see it there on the camera just as they head down. This is through the sweep, which has been a surprising overtaking spot for our superbikes, and then full throttle all the way down to the final corner Dunlop as our leader makes his way through this long right turn to finish lap number 1 at the restart.
Gets it very, very wide, trying to carry as much momentum as possible. Gets nice and tucked in close towards barrier to help out with the wind buffeting them around. But you can see all the riders trying to get a little bit of a slipstream. You're also seeing the different engine capacities coming into play. Some having straight lines, some having a little bit more cornering to ensure that they can carry as much momentum through the order. Nicole Perificati trying her little bit of a climb back up into 3rd place. But it is King going and fighting out with Basson and Chabalala, who is leading the championship for his class. hoping that he can really make an impact here at Aldo Scribante for his first time ride in front of Into Africa.
Yeah, some smooth riding here from the guys. Riders. Oh, big lock up there, a bit of a tank slapper, but the 15 manages to hold on. But as mentioned, that was Barson. It was Purificati who benefited from the restart. Now running comfortably in third, looking good on the 211.
And we do have the 44 now making up LaRue, going and really standing on the power, just trying to figure out where he can make up some time, and will be chasing down Barson after seeing a little mistake.
Yeah, there's a mistake there from Varinga, yeah, and he loses perhaps, and it's Purificati gone through, so perhaps just missing a gear or not getting the drive out of the final corner. And where is Caravello? Long gone already at the S's. This is a huge change since the start of our first race.
Christian Carvello, an old dog to the riding scene, but Nicole Purificati going and carrying the name through. The entire Purificati family going and spanning nearly 2-3 generations of riding, now having to get very defensive against Varinga. And these two have crossed swords more than once in the past. It's late on the brakes, as we do see Barson trying to make up some time and just going in a little bit too deep every single time.
Yeah, an improvement here from Shabalala as well, the Inter Africa Racing number 19. So that's an improvement from earlier, down in 6th position at the moment, 7.8 seconds off the pace here at the Senior Club 1 race as they make their way down the final corner. And there goes that Inter Africa blue colours. This, they go through once again here, and it is flat tough, but look at the pace of Garavella. He's already finished down the main straight in such a short space of time. Promotion to next category perhaps, Steve, on the cards?
Well, that's what he's aiming for, to try and move up through the order.
Very good.
But also needs to get onto 1,000 instead of adding a little bit too many horses to it as well. But Sia Chabalala going and putting the pressure on Mr. King at the moment. And the King may be dethroned at this point. And Chabalala just hunting him down on a little bit of a smaller machinery, but really going and fighting out against the thousands.
Yeah, Shabalala, just 16 years of age, learning, understanding the bike, and he's going to take a bit of a nose wheelie there, and he takes the inside line. It's a beautiful move late on the brakes. Oh, and he gets a tank slapper. Is he going to be able to hold that line now through the sweep? And he has indeed. He's growing in confidence, lap by lap. What a great experience it is for the young 16-year-old who must do his homework this afternoon, and he's doing exceptionally well. Holding up the Inter Africa Racing name quite strongly, as now LaRue dives on the inside of King. That's 2 places in just a matter of corners for the man who was running in 5th, down in 7th now.
Now with 2 laps to go, Jordan King is actually going backwards. Something tells me the bike isn't the happiest as he tries to make up a bit of ground, goes across the front of LaRue. Had the straight line, but the cornering just not working for him at the moment. And it's going to be a very, very close fight. Jan LaRue going to be right on his tail, trying to press on and really close up that gap as fast as possible. Clive Turnbull going in, also making up a bit of time as he looks to try and improve his running through it all. Currently leading the Open Superbikes, while you got the like of Christian Carvello on the Unlimited 1000s.
Yeah, Turnbull on that beautiful GSXR 1000, always a fan favourite. Love the sound of that engine as we continue here on race number 1. And keeping an eye out there, we're going to start our final lap here at the Senior Club race, and it is Caravello comfortably now in the lead. We didn't see this dominance earlier on, but certainly found his pace as Varinga has struggled in race 2. Seems to be coming back though towards Purificati with the final lap. Is there an opportunity here for Varinga to redeem himself?
Looking at the lap times, he was just a tad slower than Nicole Purificati in best lap time, but was nearly 0.5 of a second fast on that last lap. He's got 1 shot to get it done and dusted. Carvello, on the other hand, he's already moving on to race 2 and maybe heading towards Valencia at this point, just opening up a dominating gap. But with the fight happening behind him, he's got no worry in the world.
Yeah, bit of a wheelie there, going down through the sweep, looking quite comfortable. Smooth is best on these big bikes as he comes around then, as he has done from pole position in the start and restart. And he makes his way around the long final corner with its yellow Dunlop walls in the background. And here we go, down the main straight. He'll take the checkered flag for the race victory here in the club race 1 of our Super Saturday.
And coming right behind Nicole, trying to defend right to the finish line, and looks like she does so. Dave Ringer tried really leaning on the power. Jordan King also looking to go up on the inside, didn't quite make it through the final corner, and also a drag race through. Couldn't beat out Sia Chabalala, finishing up in 5th. Bosson got to be finishing up in 4th place overall. I mean, that is just a wild run to the end.
Yeah, 0.1 second between 2nd and 3rd, between 4.5 and 6.2 seconds. So some incredible tight racing here, and that's what the fans have come out to see as we look at some of the back markers here making their way through the field as well. Number 3 coming up, it's Jordan Gaines there in that beautiful YZF R1 Yamaha final corner, and finishing up here in race 1.
He's going to be finishing up 4th place overall in his class for the Open Superbike. So a good haul of points for his running on Buildup. But now they have to put their focus back towards race 2. Remember, it's all about maximizing the points for the championship, because in 2024 it landed up with 1 point between them. The Christian Calvello in a bit of shock, going and saying, "Did you come in second? Did you come in second?" And that joyous celebration as Nicole says, "I got it, you're next."
You're next, yeah. The race number 2 coming up at 1:30, and they will be in action a little bit later on. So Senior Club Race 2 to come a little bit later on today. Was that husband and wife there?
That is husband and wife, and well, I think there's going to be big hugs after that one. But also now, if I was Christian, I'd be worrying a bit, because it looks like the missus is going to be a bit quicker. What would you do? Rather win and sleep on the couch, or come second and be able to sleep in bed?
No, he's not sleeping on the couch, that's for sure. He's got the trophy in his hands. So. Fantastic race 1 there. That was our 2nd of our Superbike races. The junior Superbikes, of course, to come up next. And a little easterly breeze here across the track, but beautiful sunny conditions here at Aldo Scribante. Just to remind you, of course, we are building up. A lot of excitement, a lot of things happening in the pit lane as fans come through, young and old, enjoying the build-up. More and more cars starting to pile in, and we've got a 4 p.m. start for the 5 hours of Scribante, the night race to come. I must say I felt for these guys, these ladies and gents, because they had to do a bit of a warm-up and qualifying last night. It was getting quite dark for them, and they did exceptionally well. It's just the braveness, the courage that they have take around the track in those conditions last night was phenomenal.
Listen, if you are a rider, you're on this fantastic machinery, you have committed to being the best out there, that zero fear. You are entering the circuit, putting that visor down and going, "I'm going to make history." You know, in a car, you get comfortable. Aircon on, radio on. When you're on a motorcycle like that, oh man, that is just you and adrenaline plus the road.
Yeah, well, we were sitting on some of these bikes yesterday, and some of these BMW 1000s. I mean, we could switch the phone on, we could see what the tire pressure was. Then you jump into a V8 Roadster, there's nothing on the steering wheel. It's just the technology completely different. These bikes are just phenomenal, the abilities that they have, the technology that's included there. So it's a comfortable ride. You can see radio, I'm not surprised if they've got air cons on these days.
Well, these 2 versions. You get your pure racing bikes that you can get out of the box, like the Ducatis that the V-Bots have. Then you've got the likes of the BMWs, where they are road conversions to have a bit of fun as well. So you get to have a bit of fun with both, and we do see riders trying to improve. But let's take a look at some of the highlights of that race, because Christian Calvello going and leading out the pack really had to try and work as hard as he can. For Ringer got a very good start. You can see a lot of the riders battling to get grip. Nicole losing out, getting sucked back into the field, and having to really figure out what's going to be the ideal line into turn 1 and start going and working her way through the pack.
Yeah, this was through the S's for the first time. Of course, there was going to be a red flag to come out from the number 6, but at this stage, it was all smooth going and a much closer between the front 3 until the restart. So beautiful scenes here as they make their way. This is down the main straight. There it is, the number 6. That was Malcolm Govender in that beautiful BMW S1000 there. You can see some of the protection gear on those handlebars we were talking of. And so, yeah, this was a big lock up here from the 18, managing to hold it quite nicely. In fact, the 15 rather, and then getting back on track and then actually fighting back for some of those positions. But in the end, Caravallo just looking really comfortable at the restart, taking the checkered flag, and just checking to see where his missus is.
That's it. After opening up a big gap, Dave Ringer tried everything right down to the wire in the slipstream, going side by side, But Nicole just having that little bit of an edge, and
There we
there
go.
trying to figure out, did you come
Second? Were you second? Yeah! Husband and wife. She's like, just leave me alone. All right, I can easily do second. I don't need your help, you know. Brilliant stuff there. Oh, and look what we've got here now. Well, take me back, Steve. Take me back.
All right, it is time for our juniors, but this is a good mix as we've got our classics that are out on, and they vary from 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, and into the 1990s.
Look at that.
Go and have a bit of fun. All original equipment, and if you can't find the spares, get handy in the garage, and that's what a lot of the riders do. We'll also see our sub 500 and our Suzuki GSX-8R in the mix as well, which is a new class that is debuting here at Aldo Scribante for round 2 of the South African Endurance Series.
That Suzuki you mentioned, you'll recognize its handlebars. They seem a bit forward and up. You'll quickly recognize it. But I mean, this is bringing back such memories. You mentioned the Suzuki there. I think it's like Kevin Schwantz days, colors, Lucky Strike colors on the bikes as well. You'll reminisce of some famous days of 2 wheels over the years, and these are what these classics are about to say. Hey, remember those times? These bikes are still very competitive around the track. In fact, Tristan Pienaar in the 50, we mentioned that Kawasaki was a 107, but the first of the classics was Jamie in a 108.1 on the 65. One to look out for here in the classics.
Well, keep an eye on Fergal McAdam. He is on the number 91 and started racing at about 45 years old, and son going and having a lot of fun. He won out race 1 with Wessel Kruger on his tail, and the likes of Jan Kusterman came 3rd. Etienne Lowe, however, is the bike I really love, the number 7 bright green Kawasaki that is looking to go and fight its way through. A very sit-up bike, and also on the older bikes out in the field.
Z1000, yeah, the Z1000J. So it's Tristan Pienaar running his own race here. Paul Jamie Hall, the 65, that's alongside him on that Suzuki SRA D750, and we have got under racing conditions. Take us away, Steve.
Diving down to T1, you can see our sub 500 going a little bit further down, and Etienne Lowe trying to improve, but it's late on the brakes. Tristan's going to have an easy run through, as being on a bit of a newer bike. Wessel Kruger going to go around the outside, and Tristan shoulder to wheel there.
Nicely, Asablouf. That's a Suzuki GS 750R that took the whole shot there, but you'll notice on the 50 there's a couple of pieces missing there. This bike, brand new, there's that familiar Suzuki colors on the bike. As they head their way down through Hangar for the first time, taking it nice and leisurely, they're just going to find their pace as we dive into race 1 for our junior superbikes this weekend.
Absolutely great stuff, and we are getting red flags for that could possibly be a false start that they may have got, because I didn't see any rider down, and I didn't see...
There's that 91 you mentioned. That is the Honda VTR 1000. Okay, so we've got a bike stuck on the grid.
That's a stall out, unfortunately, and going to be moving off.
That's unusual, and you can see now they're actually having to lift it, and that's because a lock of wheels of some sorts, and so they're not able to push the bike.
Go and drag it out of the way, unfortunately. Wow. Not quite the race weekend you want to have, but I'm sure they'll get it up and going for Heat 2 a little bit later today. Our fantastic marshals been working incredibly hard behind the scenes with our officials, and a big thank you to them. But they've also been having a bit of fun with our riders, going and taking plenty of photos with the MRSSA.
And of course the classics all together in the pits. You'll find them in the second lane, and they're all together chatting. So some of them diving into the pits, just confusion here as to what's happening.
That is the red flag procedure. You've got to get back into the pits, not stop on the grid. And that's purely out of safety, because if you stop on the grid and someone still going hasn't seen the red flags, may land up in a bit of an accident. So got to be careful. Go rather get back into the pits, and you'll get out, get a little bit of heat into your tire, stop on the grid, rev it up and go. Same as what we had a little bit earlier. But unfortunately, you will have laps minus at this point to carry on. Go.
Pit lane open, a bit of a wheelie from Tristan as he comes out, and they'll do a little formation lap, go around, and then we'll be racing once again. Just a look in the distance there, the city of Gqeberha, Nelson Mandela Bay, bright sunshine, beautiful conditions, and all set to go. Unlike last year, of course. Last year we were boating around this track, so race fans will be delighted to see the conditions in excellent condition for competitive racing, and what an afternoon we are in for. But it is race 1 of the Junior Superbikes, 2 races for each of the categories to come, and we'll be done and dusted with the bikes and the sports and GTs by around about 2:30 as we get ready for the main race getting underway at 4.
You know what I remember clearly about last year, and especially with motorcycles, is there was absolutely no fear of the water. They went out and really gave it their absolute all. A couple of the riders here actually participated and said they had a little bit of fun. It was something exciting.
Interested in having a bit of fun. Yeah, of course, this is, you'll see his name come up a few times this weekend because he's racing in 2 races. Yeah, he is taking part in this stunning Kawasaki, but of course, it's called the GSX-8R. And to see the handlebars, the seating just looks very, very different. But it's an exciting fusion of sports bike appeal, performance, and riding pleasure. So a new concept from Kawasaki. Oh, it's from Suzuki, sorry.
It's Suzuki's answer to make things a little bit cheaper, a little bit more affordable. It's actually one of the bikes I'm quite excited about because it's actually 20,000 Rand cheaper than a road going bike.
Wow.
But we've also got our paramedics, and I've got to say big thank you to them. And well, thanks guys for all the hard work. I know that CBD Point has been fun.
Yeah, of course, it's so important that the races are held in safe conditions, and we've got a huge group of assistants here on the track, in the pits, around the track. You'll see that safety is paramount and of priority to us here in the series. So a big thank you to them. They've been one of the first to arrive this morning, so amazing. Right, so just run us through here. It still says 12 laps to go. 5-second board. Looks like we can get racing underway. So we saw red lights.
Lights on, lights off, and away they go. Getting off the line, Tristan getting a good start on the Suzuki, trying to break away early on. But it is going to be a fight amongst our classics. Etienne Lowe also looking on the inside, but won't have the drive to move his way up through the order. This is a rinse and repeat of what we saw previously. And Tristan around the outside. Very, very brave. Not often you get to see it here at Aldo Scribante.
Yeah, I thought Tristan might hold back a little bit just to have a bit of fun. But Wessel having a bit of a check there through the first corner. It's a difficult corner sometimes to get right. Various racing lines through our bikes as they head through there. But Wessel in that Suzuki GSX 750R currently running in 2nd position. 91 there is Fergal McAdam in that Honda VTR 1000. A beautiful Honda. Look at that GSX 1100 there. They're from the Suzuki. Familiar to old racing fans around the world.
Absolutely fun. Fergal McAdam going and gaining a little bit of time.
He's looking hungry for second.
He is trying to score as many points as possible. Defending champion will need to really work hard. But it is the 163 of Wessel Kruger who has got him pretty much caught out. Going to have a bit of straight line, and Fergal now having to just rely getting to the corner first.
Well, it's the 750 versus 1000, so expecting the 1000 perhaps to pull away, but it's the 750 that's far stronger down the main straight. Various factors, of course, but yeah, lovely to see.
Well, McAdam is an absolute veteran going and having a bit of fun on a variety of bikes, whether it be down in the F4 class of our classics, and that is the oldest of the class, right up to our F1s.
So he makes his way now through the hangars, a little lean to the left, a little lean to the right, and now coming through to the hairpin. Find your braking spot. We've seen 1 or 2 bikes miss that braking spot. They're very smooth through here. This is where we've seen the cars struggle coming out of this point, but the bike's super smooth as they make their way down towards the sweep for the first time. Okay, so just news coming through from our team. Malcolm Governor, we saw him go off on the number 6. Looks like just mostly cosmetic damage to the bike, and yeah, they're just checking to see if there's any more serious issues. But knowing him, he'll want to be back out there.
McAdam looking for the inside and just not getting the drive as they get onto the main straight, and also losing a little bit of time as well, as you cannot count out Hall going and gaining a lot of pace as well. So this is going to be a turn of a race for them. Our top 3 for the classics are all within roughly about a second of one another.
In fact, if you go from 2nd down to 8, we've got all Suzukis, barring, of course, Fergal McAdam in the 91, who's got a Honda. So this is a ganging up here of Suzuki Classics taking on the Honda, with the Suzuki, of course, out in front, comfortably leading with young Pienaar.
Jamie Hall going and trying to figure out where to get that little bit of momentum. Fergal McAdam a little bit earlier on the brakes, isn't comfortable for any late dives. He's going to just allow Kruger to pull him along, but that is allowing Hall to get a little bit closer, try and figure out what's the next step. How can you get on by as quick as possible?
So just one of our viewers just asking, just remind us the age of the bikes.
So these vary from the 1960s all the way to
late braking.
the 1980s, 1990s, various classes being F1, F2, F3, and F4. F4 being the oldest, F1 being the youngest of the classes. Fergal McAdam looking to his right-hand side, now sees Hall's got the whole shot into turn one, but just backing off a little bit too early.
Wise. Yeah, you don't want to go off the track there because that's a bit of the bank falls down, the grass falls away. It's you lose quite a bit of time having to get through. But who's the fastest man on the track at the moment? It's the 65. Even faster, in fact, than Pinar out in the lead, who's perhaps just taking it easy with a comfortable 7.66 second lead.
Jamie Hall not going and losing out any bit of momentum here. Wants that second place and score as many points as possible. Didn't score any points in round one, wasn't there. So this is going to be optimum to go and move forward, and really looking into outside, looks back for the inside line as Fergal going and sweeping across the front, ensuring they can try and cover off a line, maybe get him off the throttle a little bit. But take a look, Hall up on the inside, late on the breakers, 50 meters.
Again, same spot, he gets to get it done this time. Brilliant. Hey, and this is what these riders love to do, is to push the machinery to the absolute limits, to find that braking spot, the sweet spot where you can, as late as possible, brake. And look at him now, clearing a bit of a gap as he finds himself now tracking down Mr. Kruger in second.
Wessel Kruger now going to be keeping a very big look over the right-hand side just to see. And Jamie Hall now making up tons and tons of time, and also a bit of an onboard camera on the front of Hall's bike just to get the best shots. But this is for maximum points here, and Hall on a fairly more modern bike than the rest of the field, now having to try and figure out
is
where
this
he can
his
go.
first chance? No, he did have a look there, and this is really for first, second, and third in the Masters. Remember, of course, young Tristan Pinar, he's in his own race up in the lead. So this is really where the battle is here. This is for first, second, third in Masters, second, third, and fourth, of course, on the road. And they are neck and neck with lap number 5 about to get underway of 8.
McAdam up on the inside, trying to cause likes of Wessel Kruger to sit up. Wessel backed out of it, down 2 positions, and now having to try and gain a bit of time, as it is going to be a huge, huge run. Fergal McAdam going to be smiling there.
Yeah, that 163 again on the main straight just seems to have a bit more horsepower, but perhaps the slimmer number 91 doing better through all the infield section, the cornering, and so we could see them trading places quite often here in the remaining few laps.
Well, take a look. Hall going and disappearing into the distance, and then leaving Wessel Kruger, who had a phenomenal run at Swartkorps, now having to battle in second. But man, oh man, there is my bike. When I started commentating at Red Star Raceway, Etienne Lowe walked up to me and said, listen, this is the bike you want to have. And I have to agree, it's just amazing.
Yeah, of course, one of the few non-Suzukis left in the race here. A good old legendary Kawasaki Z1000J. Proper classic here with Etienne Lowe at the wheel there, and just enjoying himself. A bit of a cruise. Just really looking a bit like a motard bike, you know, like a classic motard style riding as well.
You'll also notice a lot of the classic bikes, if you go earlier, it's more sit-up versus everything. And as time progressed, they started working on aero, getting you lying down a little bit more, trying to improve the aerodynamics on the way through. And it's a great show of here at Aldo Scribante, where you can literally walk through a museum from the most classics all the way to the 2024, 2025 bikes.
All right, so Wessel Kruger, as mentioned, back into second in class. And we've got Fergal McAdam on the 91 of that chunky underside, big fairing underneath there, but a classic front look. Really brings back some good memories. Oh, late on the brakes, just trying to see if you close up the gap there. A bit twitchy there, but he's done well to close up the gap before the final corner, before Wessel seems to just pull away on the main straight.
Been battling with a massive amount of understeer as he tries to roll on the throttle just wants to drag the bike out. Now, he's not the youngest in the grid as well, so a bit of maybe stamina and endurance coming in, definitely far more than what you and I have to even attempt to ride this type of machinery.
Right, so we've got here lap 5 as we take an eye on the 28. We haven't seen much of Mark van Bilkum. He's on one of the GSX-R Suzukis as well. The classic colors there that you associate with Suzuki Superbikes over the years. He's making his way there through the sweep as we go back to this battle for second and third. Going through the sweeps now. Well, are they getting faster? That's a bit of a mistake there, unfortunately, from Fergal. That's going to give Vessel now a bit of breathing space as we come down to the closing stages of this race. I must say that Pienaar not running away with it too far. It's maintained between sort of 7 and 9 seconds. So these boys are pushing.
Kruger just trying to figure out how to keep it consistent, and Fergal actually going and getting right to the fringes of the circuit, maybe just trying to carry a little bit more momentum and close up that gap. I mean, 5 laps left. There's still a lot of racing to be done here at Aldo Scribante. And if he can line himself up for the apex, can he get it? Unfortunately not. Tried his luck though.
Yeah, and this is what we've been saying about the track. There's so many different lines through these very wide, long corners. And some of them getting it really right and benefiting against their competitors, but nothing can beat horsepower down a main straight.
Trying as he might, but we'll have to figure out in very, very quick fashion of how to move up through the order. I mean, McAdam came first in round 1 and now looking to be third in the running for our classic. So this is maximum points here. Both went to war with each other at round 1 at Swartkorps, but here at Aldo Scribante, very, very close to one another.
Just to mention, of course, we're talking about 3rd and 4th on the road. That's 2nd and 3rd, though, in category, because Kruger has just run away with things. Well, Hall has been sort of there and thereabouts, fallen away, but so this is actually 2nd and 3rd on the road, but 1st and 2nd in classes he takes on the outside.
Now, Kruger going and just slipping off the peg while trying to get a gear change, having to try and relocate, get sorted out. Fergal McAdam, very tight line into the final corner and managing to protect that apex. But what is the drive going to look like?
Yeah, the 163 seems to have had the power down the main straight. Let's see if he can overtake and give another little gesture to the side with his fingers. Let's have a look. Just saying bye-bye. That's the surprising. The 750 a bit more powerful than the 1000. Of course, many factors to consider as to how these two bikes are set up as well. But in the infield again, we see McAdam closing in, and with dying laps, you could favour him having a lunge into that final corner.
It is going to be a close one. McAdam has shown he's quite happy to go for the final corner the entire time. So if you can try and hold the apex, heading through the sweep and also heading into the final corner, you're in for the win. But he has to at least have roughly 0.3, 0.4 of a second gap before he gets to the line to be able to get that position. Otherwise, horsepower comes into play.
Yeah, Dean Kemp there going through. He's on the 47. He's 2 laps down, but just enjoying being out here in one of the classic Suzukis at Aldo Scribante. Right, there's Tristan Pienaar rather, out in front on that Suzuki. Just taking it nice and easy. But I must say, Hall is not letting him get away too far. He's comfortably in second, 8.4 second gap now, as mentioned. Kruger and McAdam is where the battle is for 2nd and 3rd in the Masters category. Pienaar, of course, on this brand new bike. Still missing a couple of aerodynamics on it. That's how fresh it is here at the track.
Well, to aim to be the bridge into long circuit motorcycle at a more effective cost, and you will be able to get it at your Suzuki dealerships. Going and working out Tristan Pienaar, 2nd generation rider from short circuit racing, going and evolving into long circuit, has been around KTMs for the majority of his life, jumping onto Suzuki, so it's been a nice change of pace and is thoroughly enjoying how the new Suzuki performs. Oh, getting close to Etienne Lowe, who takes a look over his shoulder saying, sorry buddy.
It's almost like they're talking to each other on a track day. Yeah, as they start the final lap, we see that stunning Kawasaki in the background. Says, "Come with me, let's go, one more lap."
Well, if you think about it, we've had the oldest bike on the circuit with the most current, the 2025 right. Suzuki, and this is what is absolutely fantastic about the MRSSA. You get to see such a variety of riders, of machinery out there, and you get to well, sit on them, go and enjoy, get a little bit of history from the riders. But Macadam once again, turn one, just not being the favourable one.
All right, now this is going to be the battle. It's final lap. Let's just remind you, the 163 ahead here has been losing out on this infield. The 91 of Macadam has been really closing the gap and choosing some interesting lines and some unusual overtaking spots. One of them was the second half of the hangar, but we break away now to Pinar. He's going to come around for the last time. Final corner, he'll take the Junior Superbike race. He just sticks his leg out to the fans that are on the outside of the final corner. And here he goes to take the checkered flag. Hall will come in second, but the eyes will be on that third and fourth battle between Kruger and Macadam. And keep an eye out for them. These are some of the back markers coming through now. We look back down the main straight, but we want to see what's happening with Kruger and Macadam. Can he make a dive down that final quarter? Let's see if we can spot the action out on the track. Here we go, and he has got ahead of Macadam onto the final corner. In fact, that was done through the sweep or well before, because the might of the 163 is not going to catch him in this short little section. And it's going to be, I got one over you for Macadam. Well done.
That 0.3, 0.4 of a second was needed, but you can see tired nonetheless. But it is one of the Killarney riders that takes the overall win for race one, as Tristan Pinar going to be quite happy with that. And I know there's going to be a whole bunch of people back in Cape Town. They're going to be smiling ear to ear. They've got the up and up here at Aldo Scribante.
Yeah, John Kosterman coming through there. He's going to take 5th place on that Suzuki as he makes his way through now. Well done. Great to have him on board with us here down in the Eastern Cape. It's going to be that Stephen Koenig favourite Kawasaki with Lowe picking up in 6th place. And then we've got, here we go, this was the battle there. Great rivalry between them as we start to see more and more fans piling into that beautiful bank on the outside of hangar and into the final corner. So race one done and dusted then for all the categories.
Well, that is it, done and dusted, and I can't wait for race two at this point. Looking at our class split, it is Jamie Hall taking 1st place with Hugo Macadam in 2nd, and Vessel Kruger taking 3rd. John Kosterman running in 4th, Etienne Lowe, and Blickham running in 6th, followed by Dean Kemp in 7th. Moving on to our overall winner of race 1 and winner of the GSX 8R is going to be Tristan Pinar. Our sub 500, unfortunately not able to get off the line, and that is Mr. Henning, who we saw getting dragged off for the red flag. Great running, but I can't wait for Heat 2 because there's going to be a bit of adjustments done onto those bikes and listening to the carburetors instead of worrying about fuel injection.
So race one done then for each of our categories. We started with senior superbikes, senior clubs. This was the junior superbike, and we're going to go straight into race two for senior superbikes. Then we've got a bit of a lunch break before we have our third and final race for sports and GT. That comes your way at 1 o'clock. It's race two for our senior club and junior superbikes. And then, of course, our build-up for the main race. We'll take a short break. Stay with us here at Aldo Scribante. It's the 5 hours on the way.
Right on time.
I was shushing Chloe. SAES certainly growing, expanding. Vodacom for you on board. And one of the exciting things is all this cool merchandise.
That's it. It's absolutely amazing. And my personal favorite, because we're getting into the winter, is a little bit of a jersey that tells you what you're doing Monday to Sunday. That is out on the SAES website. I've got to say, that is my absolute fan favorite but there's one day that's wrong. Rest day. There's no rest.
Yeah, it says Motorsport is a 3-day week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then it's practice, qualifying, race day, rest day. Yeah, absolutely. Some nice merchandise available. Well done to the guys. So we're getting ready for race 2 of the MRSSA Senior Superbikes. These are the big boys. And of course, earlier, who picked up the victory for us there, Steve?
Well, Dino Izio on his return has got himself into first place and walked away with it without any problem. But the battle was further down. The likes of Adolf Buschhoff coming in second place, and with Damien Perfecati and Tristan Pienaar running in the final pack.
So here we go, round 2. It's the last race for these senior superbikes this weekend. So they may have taken it cautiously in race 1. You've got no doubt about it. They're going to throw everything they've got. As we see, checking some tire pressure there, perhaps, on one of the front runners.
Yeah, that's on Adolf Buschhoff. We're going and doing a little bit just to...
A bit late.
Well, no. Any advantage can be gained. And right now, everyone's tires are cooling down. So they're just double checking those pressures, because Dino is going to have a little bit of a run here. So, no, sorry, that was Dino's bike that was getting worked on.
Because, is it Buschhoff probably on pole position?
On
the right,
position.
There we go.
So Dino having a little bit of work done, and something he's used to across the waters, but can he get the run? Adolf is gearing up, current defender of the championship, will have to get the run. Damien Perfecati running in third, will have the outside line, very, very outside line, but Dino is going to be hard on the power, brings the revs right up, very aggressive. You'll see he leans right onto the front of the tank to ensure that he can keep the power in as much as possible. Lights on, lights on, lights on, lights off, and away they go. Dino really getting an early jump on the throttle. Adolf trying to make his way through as riders. Oh, we got a stall out, unfortunately. Now just able to get going, but not quite how you want to start the race.
Yeah, Buschhoff seemed to get away with the better start, but Dino seemed to come back quite quickly as they got up to full speed. And looks like we might have it. No, Adolf for a moment looked there that he wanted to maybe perhaps challenge for the lead, but he's right on his tail now, and this is not what we saw in race number 1.
Now Dino's going to have to...
Oh, we got a back off, and it's Buschhoff. Is it Buschhoff? Big crash there, going a bit wide, touching the grass.
Trying to get it up. Yes, it is. It's Adolf Buschhoff.
He was so committed. He so desperately didn't want Dino to get away with him. He's going to see if he can get that bike started. It's so easy for these bikes to break a little twitch there as well from one of the bikes running in 5th or 6th. So we'll just see if we're going to get a clearance on track there, but it's going to be a gift for Dino.
He's trying to get it up and going, trying to get the restart, and also just checking if anything's bent.
Screaming in that helmet.
Peary also getting a good run on the number 26, trying to
just keep an eye out for flags. Are we going to get a red flag?
Doesn't look like it. And Peary going and charging up to the front of the pack on the 600, leading
what is going
out the
on
1,000.
here, Steve? This is a huge surprise. Oh, massive damage on the back of that bike as it took a tumble. There, he's right on it, just off the racing line. There's a marshal there. Surely they're going to have to put out the red flag. Keeping an eye, they're still racing.
Well, it looks like it's going to be yellows, but Peary on a 600cc leads out the pack.
Here we go. And we've got a Honda now taking the lead as well. Pienaar just came off the race. He just got off the Suzuki. He's now in a Honda and he's leading the race.
And red flag. Just as he got it. So we will see the riders. They'll go around. They'll see the red flag and they'll gently pull off. So as they come through, you didn't see the red flag.
Oh, no!
Contact!
Huge crash. Watch out! All right, the bike on fire now. This is not what we want to see. Huge tragedy here. This is terrible. So keeping an eye on there. we just want to get back to that, see what's happening there. Right, so a biker being hit there. Unfortunately, that was terrible to see. Red flag does come out now. So I wonder if there was perhaps someone had seen something and slowed down a little bit, because that is not a usual place we have a biker ride, and now we have a on fire. This is now, we've got 2 bikes on the road.
So,
Okay, everyone is okay. Riders walked away. There we go.
going to be very, very disappointed, unfortunately, and that's just a fuel line that gets nicked, and you're on a hot engine. So marshals are going to be putting it out, but thankfully the riders are all okay. That's why we wear the safety gear. Fortunate enough as well, it is a slow corner as you come through, but everyone having a concertina effect. That's where the contact comes in, front to rear wheel, and lands up with a little bit of a roll. But so everyone's going to make their way through back into the pits, get themselves all organized. But I think there's going to be a little bit of a worry for Dino, because, well, all going well through the sweep, and suddenly got mobbed by the field.
Yeah, right. So really not great scenes that we want to see, but we're not sure as to what's actually happened here. We think that maybe a rider had slowed down. Let's just remind you, we had Boshoff going off just after the S's. We saw him right on Dino's tail and trying to push hard and possibly to touch the grass. Something that we've seen more than once this weekend, unfortunately, coming out of the S's. Then in the final corner, there was concern that maybe we had seen red flags coming out on our timing, and so then, of course, the riders possibly had slowed down. This is actually the start of the main straight, and it looks like somebody got hit from behind, perhaps not seeing a red flag. We're going to get confirmation of that, but unfortunately, a big crash and actually knocking a rider. They've managed to walk away. So everyone seems to be in there. So they're actually going to be diving now into the first entrance for the pits. This is where we have our weigh bridge, and they'll stay away clear now from the main straight as our race officials get to work.
Well, this is going to be a good point for the riders to take a breath, reset, especially after being in the concertina. And it's one thing about being in top competitive racing, there's millimeters between one another, and a little bit of contact, especially with more exposed wheels. We do see it in single-seaters, like in the bikes where the guys hook it. So let's quickly take a look at some of the highlights of the start of the race before the red flag came out.
Right, so this is race 2 of Superbikes here at the 5 hours of Scribante, and it's been a dramatic start. We saw Adolf Boschoff from pole position again get swamped up by the field. One bike getting stuck on the grid, but did manage to get away. And it wasn't Dino who pulled away, but some of the 600s that caused a bit of a surprise on this opening lap. But we're going to see them go now through the S's, and we're going to catch the accident. Oh, he actually gets a little bit of a wobble.
It's with Dino.
Okay, so the 2 of them.
So got hooked in with Dino, ran to his bike, try and get it re-fired up and get going. And you can see how much of a tumble.
That's where Dino lost the time, his position. So the 2 of them possibly went on the grass. And then we've got this horrible incident here now as the riders come. We thought maybe there was red flags. And he catches a wobble and he hits him. So it was not related at all to flag, and it actually bounces back and just taps him on the back of the head.
Once again, just reiterating some of the safety that has gone through. That the leathers itself actually got a protective, well, the leathers is a protective layer. They have got that bit of support just to help with the neck. It also goes and dampens any impact that comes through. So there's a lot of protection for the riders, and not to mention the crash helmets themselves can be driven over by an 18-wheeler. And there is Adolf getting pushed over. The team going to be helping out to just get it back up and going. But this is going to hurt him in the championship points, as unfortunately Tristan Pinar and Damien Perfecati have got no competition to deal with.
Yeah, so they've actually pushed the bike through the middle of the course now. They're actually going from the one side of the track, and they're just sort of one of the advantages of the circuit here is they're actually pushing from there where that incident was, and now they're going to go across to the pits. But unfortunately, that's going to be game over, and not picking up the race win the championship leader on the first race. So, in fact, it's going to be a damaging weekend for the man who came here, had a great photo shoot, was looking for maximum points this weekend, and that's, I think, quick things can change in motorsport.
Well, that's it. And it's also one of the trickiest parts of the circuit. We always talked about the riders like going around the outside, and that is some of the risks that you take as well. Aldo Scribante can either love you or go and give you a lesson in the world of racing. So absolutely fantastic circuit, but very old school in the way it's built.
Yeah, and fantastic safety. Of course, we had this horrible incident that's taken place, but as you can see, marshals are out there. We've got our CEO of SAS out there, so involved, and this is the accessibility of the track. And that's a key part of the track for a 5-hour race. That's straight onto the throttle there for our top cars, and they're going to want to make sure all that oil is picked up. So we'll have a bit of a delay here. It's race number 2 of the senior superbikes for the weekend. A big field, and this is likely to happen. It's close racing, but everybody safe. Thank you for the updates coming through from our team as well. Everybody's safe, and now it's just about clearing up and getting ready for the restart.
Now, I've got to ask, we're getting to see the back of the straight, and we see drag racing happens here at
Yes,
Aldo.
that's right.
But what does it take to get here today? I mean, this is going to be the exciting. We've got Vodacom for you, who's set up Wi-Fi points that you can take photos. I've so far used 5 gigs. Apologies, Vodacom. For you, I'm glad that they're here. But it's just been incredible. We've got the Proton and Photon going and showing off. They are safety cars, but also car clubs being here, manufacturers being here. It's turning into just one big motoring festival in Quebec.
Well, the intention really is to keep growing with momentum. Of course, we're a motorsport mecca here in Nelson Mandela Bay. We've got car manufacturers just down the road. So engines made here that are exported around the world. So this is a real hub of motorsport. We chatted to some of the teams. They like to do their testing here, use the track facility. So this is really a hub of motorsport. It's got an incredible history. I think we're going to see some of the history coming through in the 5 hours, because Aldo Scribante and the Scribantes are here, and they're on the second row of the grid for the 5 hours. So our local fans will be excited by that news. We won't be excited to see the incidents that have happened here now, but we'll be keen to get back racing.
Well, I mean, the circuit itself, named after the grandfather of the Scribantes, and we've also got Celso Scribante, which is the kart circuit, the father of the 2 Scribantes racing. But just incredible to have everyone here. So definitely, if you're in the area, come through, come and enjoy. And remember, the pits are open, so it means that you're able to go and see the machinery, get up close and personal with the drivers, with the riders, get to experience the sights, the smells, and take some beautiful photos. Plus, we do have some of the merchandise on sale. I did see a family feud happening. Some wearing a Into Africa Lamborghini shirt, and others with a Nova.
A Nova. Those were the 2 popular ones there, are available. All right, so it's all happening here at Aldo Scribante. We've got a bit of a lunch break to come after this second race. A bit of a delay here now for us. We still got the Sports and GT third race to come. By the way, we had the first Sports and GT night race last night. It was phenomenal. We had the Mustang, Maurice Jackson's Audi were starting at the back of the field, making their way through, and they both picked up little niggles through the race. They had to back off, but just incredible scenes here on this tight and twisty little track.
I mean, that is a record first. And once again, the South African Endurance Series setting records every round thus far. Everything that we're putting our head together on, saying, okay, what can we do better? What can we improve? It's happening. It's getting out there and really enjoying the time. And I've got to say, I can't wait to see what's next. We're heading into a nighttime race, which everyone's been waiting for. And what better way than Aldo Scribante? I beg to say, this versus Bathurst in the dark, I'm leaning more of Aldo.
Steve. Wow, there's a big promises here, huh? Of course.
I think Aldo...
Mount Panorama versus Aldo Scribante. We'll let the YouTubers have their say there. But you're looking at scenes here. Look how quickly they've managed to turn things around there. Marshall's on the track there. And our team just checking out the exit of the last corner, clearing things up after an incident. They've loaded that bike onto the recovery vehicle, and the Superbikes are getting super keen to go. Those tires are getting pretty cool there. So it'll be interesting to see the restart, but just confirmation, everybody's safe after a nasty incident in race 2 of our senior Superbikes. But we've got thumbs up from the teams. Everybody's okay. Bikes not so, but they'll definitely be back. We've got the next round to come, of course, 7 June. We'll be down in Cape Town at Killarney.
Well, you could always fix the riders quite easily with a chocolate milkshake and by the beach. I mean, that fixes everything. It's like having
always a chocolate milkshake with you, Steve.
Well, it could be a fizzer.
He loves his milkshakes, old Steve Koenig. And these are scenes looking back down from the final corner down into the pits as well.
all the sights and sounds, but we've also got the coast in the distance, a bit of seaside to enjoy, and let's see how the racing is going to go. But looking forward to the restart, looking forward to some of the fastest out there, and who is going to be able to take the win now, because Dino is a little bit further down. You can expect that he's got a little bit of damage to his.
But now, just clarify for us, because are they not going to restart as they were on the grid, or will they restart because I think we didn't even have one lap there,
So they'll restart in their positions.
as per the grid?
The problem is, Adolf is not there. He's not going to be starting in first. Dino may have a little bit of damage on the tyres from when he went off,
Yeah,
which
that's right.
leaves Damien Perfecati, Tristan Pinal. But also don't count out the 600s, because we did see Aura push through to the sharp end of the field very, very quickly.
Yeah,
We're going to have a new winner to round 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to remind you, we're going to get things restarted as soon as possible. The marshal's working extremely hard there on the main straight. This is due to an incident, if you're just joining us, that happened in our second Superbike senior race. Two of our contenders coming together, a bit of an unfortunate incident. And we lost the number 1 plate. Adolf Boshoff going off with a little bit of a tangle, what seemed to be the two of them perhaps going off track for a moment coming out of the S's, and Boshoff was pushing really hard. He didn't want Dino to get away as he did in race 1. So we've lost 3 bikes, but still over 20 bikes left to go here in race 2.
It's going to be still a race to the line. What I'm looking forward to is this is going to shake up the championship. Last year, Adolf was at the front the whole time, Mr. Consistent in the battles. This time around, you're going to have someone else crossing the line, getting the checkered flag. And what better way? Round 2 checkered flag here at the beautiful Aldo Scribante, and getting to show the bikes off on its debut season with the South African Endurance Series in front of Vodacom for you, who's got the monster activations. And we have to talk about that the riders are currently sitting with the fastest scale electric time so far with the Vodacom. So you and I have got a bit of work on our hands.
Vodacom for you have got a bit of activation going. They've got a Scale Electrics track, and they're challenging everybody to do the fastest time. Steve and I, a little battle. We won't say who came out on top. I did. As we just enjoy a local radio station, Algo FM here, they've got a big activation as well, some of our big sponsors. We've got a beautiful array of Porsches. The Porsche Club came to visit us. They've been on the track. They're going to perhaps go out once again, just around about 1 o'clock. We'll see them parading around. We just saw this earlier as well, some beautiful scenes around the track of spectators pouring in. You can see the pit lane so accessible to everybody. Just to remind you that that's not going to be accessible once the 5 hours gets underway, because it's an active pit stop with teams having to come in and refuel, change drivers. So now's your chance. Get in now before 4 o'clock. Come and meet the drivers. Come and see the teams and be part of an amazing event. Round 2 here of the South African Endurance Series with 4 unpredictable rounds to come still this year.
Well, I got a message from a couple of my mates staying with the Silver Lakes Farmhouse Hotels, also one of our big sponsors here
yeah.
with us in the series, and they are tuned in watching the racing, saying, well, wish we were by the coast end side, but going and sending a bit of photos by the pool, going and enjoying the sights and sounds, and watching the entire racing through. So it's great to see right through Africa, right through the world, everyone coming to enjoy motorsport.
Yeah, of course, it's coast to coast. We go from Nelson Mandela Bay down the Garden route to Cape Town. 7 June, we're up next, and Kalani a return. And more than just points up for grabs, double points in Cape Town, 7 June. So this is spicing up the championship. We know the 9 hours of Kyalami at the end of the year, double points as well. Big race weekend to come, so 4 outstanding rounds. And it's difficult to say what's going to happen. In fact, just looking at the times earlier today, if we're talking about the 5 hour between the Nova, the Inter Africa Racing Lamborghini, the Scribantes, Michael Steven, fresh from racing out with the Nova team, who's on pole position, fresh from racing with them out at Paul Ricard Circuit last weekend. He is here, and he's putting blistering times, and they're 3rd on the grid. So anyway, there's so many stories to talk about there, but we're going to go back to the bikes here. Over 20 of them still. They've cleared the track, a couple of wheelies from the Ducati there, and getting ready to go down. So we're just going to get confirmation of how many laps to go as we resume race 2 of senior superbikes.
Well, going back to an old saying you've said a few times, there's so many permutations to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot that's going to happen, yeah. And even in this race now, so we've lost 3 bikes in race 2. This is the final race of the weekend for the senior Superbikes. And as predicted, they were going to leave nothing out there. They're going to give everything that they've got. And we certainly saw that. Extremely close racing, and it's cost 3 of our contenders out. And Steven's predicting a surprise here, because the man who won race 1, Dino, he got himself caught up a little bit there with the 600s overtaking him. And that will certainly spice things up as we go into this second race.
Well, that's the trick. We're going to see the likes of Orapiri, who's going to have a nice reset to get going. He's got Troy Tonkin and Ryan Fanico going to be trying to chase him down. But everyone also not going to be running a very wide line on the exit, which we have been seeing. They're going to have to keep it rather shallow to the inside, and that's going to hurt drive as well, as there's a very defined line now of where you can go.
Yeah, so you just see a bit of what looks like sand on the track, but of course that's been thrown on there to suck up the oil. And so 6 laps is confirmation. Then we're going to resume with 6 laps in race 2, and yeah, really stunning conditions here at Aldo Scribante. Just by the way, there was rain forecast for earlier today. That has not precipitated, and we are grateful for that. And looks like we've got clean run for the rest of the day, and this then the final Superbike senior class race of the day as well.
Now the Open Superbike, and being our 600, 1000 bots and masters all lined up on the circuit, it's all or nothing for our riders as our marshals clearing the circuit. You'll see the red flag up, just telling the riders, get ready, calm down. Dino looking behind him, just trying to identify who is going to be the next contender to come at him, knowing that the thousands aren't quite getting the jump off the line.
That's right.
And he's going to have to be well aware of whatever damage has been done to the tire. After the start of the race, everything's starting to cool down, nerves starting to build up, and we're starting to get clear for the racing. So you'll see lights on, lights off, and we'll go.
Right, there's no one in the number 1 position there, and that's because Adolf Boshoff is out of the race. But there's a bit of confusion. The riders looking around. But okay, so we've got a warm-up lap, so it's green flag. So there'll be a warm-up lap. Lights didn't go on, and this will just give them a chance to also have a look at that final corner where there was an incident, and also possibly some dirt thrown on the track from where the Boshoff incident took place as well, coming out of the Essa. So it'll just give them a bit of a chance to have a sighter now to see what the conditions are, as we see more and more fans. Look at that stunning. You see a truck there, but as you just pan around, you'll see some of the fans starting to line up the higher banks on the outside of the Essas and the hangar. Yeah, we'll start to see some of the fans piling in and looking for these advantageous viewing spots of the track. Being on the right-hand side here, really stunning views of Aldo Scribante.
I have to say, personal favorite is actually in the inside of the circuit, going and watching through the sweep. It's just so much fun.
Which is right here where this is exactly what you're referring to, which has been a surprising overtaking spot this weekend. I didn't expect to see that as they make their way. This is where the incident happened, just after this corner. So we'll see how they gingerly make their way around there, cautiously, just being aware of the racing line and ensuring that they'll be safe through there. The incident happened on a position where they full taps. They opened it out, pedal there, they give it full tank there, and it's just in that little incident area over there, which I think is going to be fine. Just start to see the wind, and as the bikes drive through, some of that dust will be removed.
Trying to build up that last little bit of heat by weaving left to right, get the tires ready to rock and roll, warmed up the brakes, and it is going to be 6 laps of hard racing all the way through 4 different classes in one race to duke it out for maximum points for the final time here at Aldo Scribante for round 2 of the South African Endurance Series. And our officials making sure everything's clear, ready to go.
1 minute board comes up, so it's our 1000 cc's. The 600s, which we think could cause us an upset here in this race. The Ducatis in the bots category there, the V4s, and our Masters, our 40-plus riders all set to go. Red lights. Steve, take us away.
And away they go. Dino getting a fantastic launch off the line, but it is going to be the 600s. Perry starting to move up through the order. And we do see the likes of Dino running a very, very wide, trying to close off the gap to the likes of Tristan Pinot, who's hoping that he can gain a little bit more time. These two have actually fought it out in short circuit racing many times in the past, and looking to carry that rivalry all the way through. A little bit of an upset further back And that
Ryan
is
Futter, yeah, and Kawasaki in the Masters just getting a bit of a twitch there on the front end. But let's see, as I mentioned, this is the last race of the day, so they're going to leave everything out there as our front four seem to already be making a bit of a gap as they make their way through hairpin for the very first time. Again, Futter just getting a little twitch as we make our way now to the front. Dino has got Tristan. Tristan's had plenty of track time this weekend, so you feel that he's going to try and challenge for the victory here in race 2.
I don't think Tristan's showing any wear and tear despite it all, but Damien Perfecati is going to be on his tail as they are running out a little bit wide and really gambling with the grip on the way through.
Now you can see the dust in the background. That was where that incident was, but Dino now opening up a gap already as Pienaar is 0.4 seconds back now. Purificati in third. Piri, the 600s in fourth position, staying with the front runners though in the thousands, showing incredible pace on the number 26 there.
Well, he's actually staying ahead of one of the thousands of De Bruyn, and he's got his championship rivals like Tonking and Van Rensburg down in 7th and 8th place, so he's putting a bit of gap to everyone. Tristan looks for a launch on the inside, couldn't quite get it all sorted out, and now it's going to be a chase all the way through.
Yeah, Purificati made their way up into second there, so Tristan there, the timing will correct itself as they make their way down to the final corner for a second time. Dino enjoying a bit of a clean air. He'll be delighted to pick up maximum points hopefully today after a few incidents, not as going to plan at the start of race 2, but certainly going his way now at the restart.
Really putting the power down early on, and Damien trying to get as much time as possible. Dino's starting to check out a little bit as they make their way through, but don't count out Ora Piri lying in fourth and is hard on the tail against, well, 200 cc's more than his.
Yeah, bigger bikes, of course, so they've got to throw that weight a little bit more around. So it's not unusual to see a 600 challenging. We saw that in the junior superbike race, a smaller sized engine able to challenge with the bigger bikes because sometimes the size really disadvantages you around this inner field part of the circuit.
Trying to gain a little bit of time and just losing out on straight line, but he has got Tristan Pienaar. The two of them also have a bit of a rivalry of past, but Piri going and opening up against his championship rivals as well. De Bruyn really far back this time round, not getting as much momentum as he would like, but Damien Perfecati and Tristan Pienaar look like they're going to go to absolute wars with one another, taking a little bit of a wobble getting out of the final corner.
Yeah, because and we've got a problem there, and then for Pienaar. So did he lose drive or couldn't find a gear? You could see him trying hard there to get things going, and he drops down to fourth place and into the hands of the 600 leader. Piri now up into third.
It's going to be hard work as we go further down. We just saw the shots of the likes of Tonking and Van Rensburg having a go at one another, but Piri going and running fourth and really trying, he's running third at the moment. So how's that?
Yeah,
Top
fantastic.
three?
Yeah, on that Yamaha, he's looking light on the bike. He's looking soft hands on the throttle, finding his braking spot there.
This is De Bruyn going and keeping ahead of Troy Tonkin and Van Rensburg, who are going to war with one another and battling their way through the sweep. Dives on the inside to try and get the pass done and dusted. De Bruyn is going to be keeping a very close eye on the competition behind him, because the last thing he wants to have is exactly what our front runners are having.
Yeah, so Purificati now chasing down Dino, and already they've made their way through some of the back markers. And
keep an eye on the 600s. Second and third of our 600s coming into turn one, and you can see Tonking doing everything he can to hold a good line into turn one, but it is Van Rensburg. Take Jans Van Rensburg not holding anything back, and he did fall off the bike a little bit earlier this week and had the entire cluster replaced.
Wow.
And now he's going and fighting out. Van Rensburg really needs to hang on at the moment to try and stay in, but Tonking is just not holding back at this point.
Yeah, notice the racing line here from the riders really trying to stay away from the curbs there, particularly as they come out through Hanger. It has been known to bite them, but they've sort of been tripping up a little bit on the second half of the S's, getting onto the grass. And with all the rain that's been falling here in the Nelson Mandela Bay area, the grass is quite slippery. And so you touch that, very difficult to recover, as we've seen earlier on in race 2. But Dino out in front, he's checked out, 5.5 seconds clear of Purificati with the first of our 600 runners. Number 26, it's Piri, in third.
And the likes of the Brain going and feeling the pressure as well. Van Rensburg was closing up the gap in that last shot and trying to make his way through. Dino going and showing off why exactly he's representing South Africa overseas, going and doing incredibly well, shifting through the gears, sliding in, very aggressive riding style to ensure he maximizes all the grip, but also just leaving nothing on the table.
Yeah, and if you track side, you'll hear that R1 coming with its very distinct sound, and a beautiful sight to see that Yamaha YZF R1 out on track here at Scribante. Something that we're familiar with as local motorsport fans over the years. We're used to seeing Yamahas doing well here. And there we go, checkered flag. So, of course, we're under a bit of a time pressure here today with lots of races. So, there we go. Dino picking up the race win.
Getting ahead, and a big upset. I talked about it because it's Orapiri that gets third place. And take a look at Van Rensburg and Tonking fight each other down to the wire. Some great racing nonetheless, but let's quickly take a look at by class who finished where.
So Dino picking up the race victory, Purificati in second, and it was Pienaar in third, who seemed to have a bit of a problem coming out of the final corner with some drive. Piri then picking up the race win in the 600s ahead of Van Rensburg and Tonking. They were second, third, had a bit of a battle. The Ducatis, the V4 bots, it was Horn coming through ahead of Hulscher and Landy. I think similar story to earlier on today. And Goos winning the Masters ahead of Ferreira and Jacobs. Right, all happening here at Aldo Scribante. That is it done and dusted for the senior superbikes. And wow, plenty of action there. Caught us out. Two big incidents between our two race leaders out just after the S's, and then it was this corner that saw a nasty incident between two of the front runners actually coming off and colliding, and we had a bike on fire here. Not something we want to see, but nonetheless, marshals have done their job. Riders are okay, and we'll see if we can chat to them a little bit later on. Of course, two more races to come. And that is going to be our senior clubs and our juniors as well, still to come. So they're going to come up just after Hoppus 1, because we do have a race 3 of Sports and GT. So final race of the weekend, and then we start our big build-up as we go live on Supersport for the 5 hours of Scribante.
Oh, getting more and more excited. The bar being set higher and higher, competition, and honestly, it's got everyone chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I'm surprised by some of the teams. I mean, everyone has their own sort of style and how they want to prepare, but some teams have arrived late. Some teams have arrived and not even had a practice this morning. They thought they'll just take it easy and just see how it goes. So different sort of approaches to the big race coming up later.
It's incredible stuff. But let's take a look back at some of the racing that's just happened with our seniors. So this is the start. This is the actual start of the race. Lights on, lights off. Unfortunately, one stall out. Adolf Bischoff losing out a bit of time, and Dino getting a bit of a run as they made their way in through turn 1, through the S's, trying to get as much time. Thankfully, our stall-out bike was able to get up and going.
Yeah, so keep an eye here now. Our front two, it's going to be Bischoff and Dino. Yeah, they go. They get caught up here with each other there for some reason, and it's Bischoff who comes off second best. A huge tumble there, and massive damage to the back of the bike. He was hoping to get back on, and then we're gonna just see a bit of a side view of that. So that's where Dino lost time in the 600s, took the lead. But then comes this nasty incident as the riders make their way around. This is the final corner, and you'll see one of the bikes here just gets a bit of a wobble there, and he comes off and he knocks into the bike, and the bike comes back and knocks him on the head, and looks like there goes the fuel. And we've got a fire there on the track, and that was a nasty incident. Red flag. We had thought it'd come out before that, perhaps, but in fact, that was a full racing incident. Marshals were quick to get out onto the track. Then we restarted. Yeah, of course, we'd lost the number 1 bike, and then it was much easier for the race winner.
Well, that's it. A quick jump off the line, but take a look at Piri already on the outside, was gearing up to go after the likes of Damien Purificati, hoping to gain a little bit more time into turn 1, stayed on the back, but it is Tristan Pienaar with his late braking, trying to throw it in, but Damien not going and yielding.
Wow, he's so confident. Of course, he was challenging up at one point, but in the end, he had a bit of a problem coming out the final corner. As you can see, he dropped down to 4th, as this was Dino Iezo coming through for the race victory. Maximum points this weekend, and that's going to do exceptionally well for his championship title. So how big was the gap between himself and, of course, Adolf Boshoff, who's come away the worst from the weekend?
Well, this is Dino's first score of points. He wasn't at round one because he was actually across the water. So they're going to go on an even playing field this time around. Adolf needed to actually score points here to make it work. They're going to get that bike sorted out and aim for Killarney. Double points is going to be the main key factor to try and help out the championship.
Okay, so plenty of racing to come, but what a start to the season. Round one was all about Boshoff. Round two's been all about Dino. So it's all set up then for round three in Cape Town on the 7th of June.
That's going to be exciting. But talking about that, I mean, this is Aldo Scribante. This is the fast track. 2.4 kilometers of amazing action, top speed action, and we're going to see plenty more going on. I know that we have got tons and tons of crowd members that are walking around the pits as well, getting some photos, and also going and joining on with the Vodacom for you.
And just to show you how exciting the action was, we didn't actually even look at some of the lap times because we were waiting to see if any of the bikes could go under a minute, but we just got so caught up in the action. But just to say, phenomenal pace from some of the best riders in the country, and it's wonderful to have them with us here. Almost 60 superbikes joining us at Aldo Scribante as we turn our attention now onto the track. Now, just to say that we've got a bit of a break to come now because we've got a couple of testing sessions happening. A couple of our Porsches will be out there, Porsche Parade, and then we're getting ready for the final Sport and GT race of the weekend, which has been dominated by the Hammond Racing Lamborghini.
That is very true. Now, I've got a question.
Yes.
We did get your favorite bike. You went and said that the BMWs are starting to warm your heart. Favorite manufacturer that is here?
On the bikes? Or
No, for the cars.
For the
we
cars.
know what the bikes are. Now we've got to go for the
this
cars.
is a tough one because you can't ignore all the beautiful Lamborghinis that are here, and certainly crowd favorites. But there is it's hard to say. There's an Australian you have that's caught my eye, a Ford Mustang, making its debut on the SAES, and catching many people by surprise, seeing that car, how slim, how close it is to the ground, expecting a big chunky V8, and what we're getting is a absolute beautiful car. So I don't often vote Aussie way, but I might be leaning that way right now. And we have an Aussie in the car as well.
I mean, it's an IRC Ford Mustang, and actually you can have it in 3 different bodies as well. So it's the same space frame chassis, but it comes in 3 different carbon fiber bodywork. You can either have, now this is the hard part, Ford Mustang, Merc, or Camaro.
Ooh.
How to make things a little bit more difficult.
That's difficult.
This has got an LSX engine in it. They're all exactly the same to run and have a bit of fun. It's actually trying to be more of a one-make series, similar to what we have here in South Africa with a good number of it and a healthy V8 to go and have a bit of fun. So if you had to choose between those 3 now, this is the question.
Now let's change the topic rather.
Fair enough. Okay, next one. Our Porsches are out. Now,
Yes.
we're all big Porsche fans. And, okay, so to make it easier, race Porsche, what would you go for?
Oh, well, look, the Stradalis look absolutely beautiful. Charles Rangi's, Ollie Neveling, that Porsche just looks sublime. It looks like a friendly car to even work on. It looks just easy to manage, and they just seem to be having so much fun in it. A lot of the other teams are sickling with small things. We've got Spanish and French and Italian manufacturers with their passion, and here comes this very simple racing design, and it just seems to be smooth sailing for them. I mean, we're touching wood here for them because I know that it doesn't quite go that way, but they just seem to be the happier out there, the Porsche guys.
Well, okay, so if you could pick any racing Porsche in history to jump in and go around Aldo Scribante, I mean, we've got all the Porsche fans here. Are you going to go 911 Carrera and 911 RSR?
I'm going Sorrel van der Merwe.
You're going to go Sorrel van der Merwe?
I'm going back. Some classic Porsches, eh?
Okay, so...
I'm going really back. I mean, I like those old style looking cars, eh?
Well,
Can we get hands on those?
My favorite that I would love to take around here, not a Porsche 956, not a 962. I'd rather go a 917K where it's still, where they introduce the little winglets on the side, because that to me is incredible, and Porsche still keeping up that motorsport legacy from winning Le Mans to being one of the cars to go for. I mean, the 3.5 Speedster. Let's go back a bit more. The 3.5 Speedster being iconic, and how that's carried through and the traditions have carried through to even the 992s that we see racing to this
Beautiful.
day.
Yeah, well, we've got plenty of them. Yeah, we've got the Porsche Club. They're going to be out on the track as well. They're parading some of their different eras of Porsches. Absolutely beautiful to see. Yeah, there's so many stories unfolding, and of course we're going to be building up to the big 5 hour and talking about some of the cars. Some of them have had to change engines. We saw an Alfa Romeo removing an entire diff yesterday afternoon. We've seen a lot of wheel alignments going on at the moment out in the pits and with the crews. Is that been because there's been a lot of trips off the track?
Well, it's been trips off the track, and also a lot of the drivers and teams thought that the wear on the tires would be a lot harsher than it actually is. So they were able to get a little bit more grip out of it. They, instead of trying to be overprotective on the tires, they're now looking to maximize that grip, get that top end, and get going. Unless you're the GRD team that had to do a little bit of work on a wheel hub that broke, then got it all pointing straight, and didn't quite make the beach last night. Yeah,
absolutely. They've been working through the night. And perhaps one story that's quite romantic in the eyes of the track, its history, its story, is of course the Scribantes are here as well, the namesake of the track. Silvio, Aldo, and of course the golden boy of racing here in the Eastern Cape, Mr. Michael Steven, multiple South African production car champion. He's competed all over the world. He's been given some amazing opportunities, including last week. He was at the Paul Ricard circuit. Many of us know from Formula One, Paul Ricard circuit. He was out there with the Nova team competing. Didn't have a great weekend, but we said what a great experience. And he's been signed on for a number of races this year. He's going to be traveling around the world with them. So Michael Steven joining up with Aldo and Silvio, local boys right here. Their garages are not too far from the track, and they brought one of their Raging Bull Lamborghinis here. Aldo's black one. Silvio typically rides the yellow one. And they are starting on the second row of the grid ahead of some favorites. And now that says a lot of things. Firstly, Michael Steven's impact in the team, phenomenal. But the pace of Silvio and Aldo has been outstanding, like phenomenal, like under a minute, comfortably. And here's the other thing. Aldo is doing the 1 hour dash, okay? But the team is doing the whole 5 hours. So the car is competing in 2 races, and sort of a special permission, why not? It's a home race. So I think that story of Scribante starting in the top 3, and we know that this track throws out surprises. Over the last few years, you cannot count on anything in 5 hours. We've seen race results change in the last 10, 30 minutes. I mean, anything can happen. You kind of feel that if the Scribantes are still there at the end, they're going to be in the mix.
But we also got to talk about Michael Steven. After many, many, many years in motorsport, going and working on cars, racing, being part of it, and getting to race around the world, after many, many years of waiting for that, he's finally earning a salary from motorsport, going and becoming the manager for the Scribante team. So that is a big one for him. And Scribante, that is a big signing for them. So little bits of work being done, going and improving on already a fantastic system that's been put in place. And you can't take it away.
Pieces falling into place for them as well. I popped in yesterday to see Michael Steven. He was busy fixing wire for his radio. I says, Steve, Mike, don't you have other people do this? He says, no. He's that kind of guy. He wants to be so intricately involved in all the aspects. And those remind you of some of the great racing drivers. They're engineers by trade, they're involved, and they're good drivers. And they seem to bring an extra special dynamic to successful motorsport teams around the world. And Michael Steven has that X factor. And yeah, I'm not surprised to see him getting another chance, even at his beautiful age of over 30. He's still getting plenty of opportunities because he is just that good.
Well, we also got to talk about a very special guest that's racing with the likes of the Matteo racing team. We have got the brother of the maker of that very car that they're busy calling over in Australia. That's about going 10 hours back. Whenever there's something that goes on, gives them a buzz saying, listen, this is what the car is doing, and getting straight from the horse's mouth how to get that car up and going, plus having hands-on. So it's just incredible. And do you know that the creator of the IRC is ex-South African?
Okay.
Yes, he's an expat, and guess what? Making one of the best cars out there. So it proved Aussie needed to import a South African to get the best.
Starter. One of 15 cars only in the world, only one in South Africa. There's a couple of them racing in Dubai. Some have been sent to America for series. There's even talk of maybe DTM taking one of the cars as well. So that top spec car is right here. Same level as Australian V8s is right here in the pits, just out, not too far from where we're commentating from. So you can see the narratives, and we're only talking about one class there. We've got other classes to get through, but I mean, we haven't even mentioned Inter Africa Racing's Lamborghini. You've been fairly quiet this weekend. They've been just maintaining. They're the first ones out in every practice session. They're doing thorough pit stop checks. I mean, they're just, the team are brilliant. They really are world class. And of course, Polile Lakatle has been racing overseas this year as well, getting some international experience, and his times are showing. I mean, he was running last night in that dark, where other teams were not breaking 1 minute, he was running in the 58s. So that international experience certainly showing and paying off for the team. And yeah, I think they're going to be tough to beat today. Then the Nova. Anyway, yes.
Closing up the gaps, but also we've got to talk about for the spectators, not only that you get to walk around, talk to the drivers, you get to see the teams, you also get to be exposed to a lot, but also a lot happening here at the circuit. We've got the Vodacom for You with their activation, absolutely incredible stuff. Fastest finger has to work out for the Scale Electrics, that's still one to go for. And you get to win a flip phone, I think it's a Samsung. So absolutely incredible stuff. I think the phone itself is worth 20,000 Rand. And all you have to do is get the fastest time in an oval on Scale Electrics.
Come and play Scale Electrics. That's all you've got to do. Hey.
We all know who's quicker over here, I'm just saying.
And you can hear perhaps in the background, we've got radio stations here. We've got these activations taking place. It's quite a festivity taking place. A festival of motorsport, that's what we're aiming for. And every year it's just been getting stronger and stronger. Coming out of the pandemic, motorsport took a huge knock. This feels like we're getting back to those days as fans start to come in. So just to remind you, jumping ahead, 4 o'clock we go racing. We'll go live on Supersport from 3:30 with our live coverage. Myself, Stephen, we've got Prince and Brendan who will be sharing commentary duty all the way through to the night. And we crown champions. Just to maybe help our race fans, just remind them, what happened in race 1? Who are the contenders who are leading the championship?
So leading the championship, because it is a driver championship, we have got the Norman Nova team, the Just for Sleep, and that is Nick Adcock that was leading out the championship. We had Jensen running in second place and the likes of Nika running in third. But that being said, we are missing those drivers.
Jensen and Adcock, they're doing international duty at the moment. So Nika has a chance to take the championship lead here this weekend.
Well, that's it. They have an opportunity to go first. But we did see the Inter Africa battle in round 1, landing up with a rear tire sensor on the right-hand side. Yet again, something that has been a niggle to them. They eventually got it up and going. Long pit stops took them some time, and we're only half a lap behind by the end of the race. Unfortunately, Stuart White made a mistake and landed up into the dirt. We had Lutako who locked up the anchors into turn 4, but it was also our national V8 Roadsters that were in for a great fight. A couple of them getting into a good tussle, but the big one was the carbon car landed up having an oil pressure problem. It actually had the baffles going and closing up one another, and no oil was able to get to the engine, so they waited, said rather stop. They grabbed one of the national V8 Roadsters, jumped in, and finished third overall, up against Class A's cars, plus be the most consistent. So they're leading the performance and index. Now they're back into the main car after having a bit of work done at Desi. They actually cut a big hole in the nose to try and cool it down a little bit better. And Steve going and doing the mad genius work has got some new louvers into the car as well.
that carbon car, that team, they always come out with some unusual stories. It's my favorite, just while we've got a moment just to share. Last year's SWAT Corps, I think it was round 2 possibly, because I think it started in Red Star last year. So round 2, we went to SWAT Corps and they drove their car in the back of a trailer from Durban. Do you remember the story? So they drove up from Durban, drove the car up on this trailer, and then they were cycling a little bit, driving along, and then they realized this car in the back has got a huge rear wing that's causing huge downforce way back there on this trailer. So they removed it. So then they could go a bit faster. They get to the track, minutes before qualifying starts. I mean, they're just unpacking. No time to put the rear wing on. They qualify without a rear wing. They didn't do too badly, and then started to make some adjustments. And that rear wing has looked anything from a big bride to all sorts of things, like a proper race wing to, I don't know, a back door. It's looked strange, but they've somehow, these proper mechanics with grease, they look like Spitfire to pilots, you know, grease on their heads, and then they jump in and then they race, and they've finished on the podium with these stories. They've caught on fire on the track. Just the most amazing racing team. You've got to hang out with them.
Oh, no, it's absolutely incredible. Other one is Pesty Racing Team. Can't take away anything. Been very consistent, but let's go back to last year here at Aldo Scribante and landed up with a torrential downpour. They were behind the safety car, but it was actually a saving grace because they were jammed in third gear.
Couldn't get out of third.
If they went and if they were going any quicker, they would completely wreck the gearbox. The gears were shattered inside of it. The synchros were gone. It was game over inside that gearbox, but due to the safety car, they were able to jam it in third and just get it to the end.
And there's a similar story at the 9 hour, wasn't it, at the end of last year? They were also stuck in a gear for half the race. They managed to finish the race, win that race, and win the title, the 262. That car,
Yeah.
this is endurance racing. There's moments where you think, how on earth is this car still going? And there's other moments where you've got a car falling over because of such a small little sensor. Or Marius Jackson yesterday, he took part in the Sports and GT, and his battery came loose in the car while they're driving, arced against the body of the car and cut it out. Luckily it came up yesterday, not in today's 1 hour dash, because I think he's a serious contender to pick up victory today. He's looking fast.
But we've also got to talk about the new addition that's happening this season is all the iCams that have been put in with the Vodacom for you SIM cards in to give us that outside view and inside view at the same time. That also helps with the likes of stewarding to make sure that everything is compliant. But for us, the best part is we get to see the drivers really getting into it. We get to see a onboard view, and if we go back, the first time that we had a proper onboard was actually here at Aldo Scribante in the Marius Jackson Audi R8 with Joseph Ellerine behind the wheel.
Yeah, wow, some big names here in South African motorsport. They're doing exceptionally well now this year. Hey? Think about some of these drivers competing internationally at the moment in series. Just amazing. Wishing Joseph, Keegan, all these youngsters all the best in their series around the world. Yeah, just to mention, you mentioned inboard camera. Of course, that was a contentious issue at the end of last season with somebody removing their gloves behind the safety car and receiving a penalty and costing the race victory last year. So, yeah, race fans, we love seeing all of this, but the drivers have to be aware of it. The world has changed. You know, it's like a soccer player now. They often talk to each other with their hand over their mouth because they'll be careful what they say. It's changed. The whole world of sport has changed with accessibility. And so the drivers have to be really aware of that now.
Now, that was Charles Visser, and he's actually back in the very same car. Now, I've got a question. If I had the onboard camera, I would actually have a reverse Uno card. So when someone passes me, you just pull it out to go for it.
All right, that's it from us for now. We'll take a short break. Of course, just to remind you, we've got race 2 in the club and the junior superbikes. We've got race 3 of the Sports and GT, and then we build up to the 5 hours of Scribante. Stay with us.
And the Sports and GT race 3 is getting ready to start. It is the final race for the day, and I noticed that there's something about that number 57 Lamborghini that something about arriving late. Maybe there's a bit of a ritual there. What do you think, Brendan? Is there? Damien is always. He's the late. Damien, I beg your pardon, is always the last to arrive on that grid, or second last at least now, because there's Sun Moodley.
I think they just keep the tyre warmers on that car a little bit longer, just a little extra advantage. But then he arrives at the grid and he's got to wait to make his way through the traffic. So any advantage he would have, it would be completely neutralized. So yeah, once again waiting for him. But a nice extended lunch break that we've enjoyed there, and just a chance to once again go down the pit lane. And I must say, just a very calm pit lane in preparation for
100%.
the 5 hours of Aldo Scribante coming up later this evening. And the team's looking all relaxed. The work is done. The cars are on jacks, and the guys are actually just chilling. A lot of the guys are just catching some downtime, and we should be. They look like they're all ready to go. So. Should be a humdinger later on. The race set to start at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and the excitement's certainly starting to build. A nice crowd of spectators in already and enjoying the festivities out there.
Yeah, listen, with what we've seen so far, the appetizers very, very closely resemble the main course. I mean, you saw what happened with the bike races just now. A couple of incidents on the circuits, but all dealt with in a safe manner, in a quick manner. All of our riders were helped out and recovered safely, and the racing continues, and the show must go on, and go on we shall with Sporting GT, which they've excited us for the first and second race. We had a night race with the Sporting GT as well as the second, but here we go with race 3 to close things up. And with the safety car now leaving the circuit, as far ahead of GT racing equipment as possible, because very quickly they close that gap and make nothing of it. They're going to make a formation lap, warm those tires up as much as possible, keep them in the blankets. I was talking to some of the bikers. We saw the classes that just came out now. They were talking about just the temperatures that they prefer to have their tires at going into a race, and it plays in and around the territory of between 80 and 90 degrees, just depending on the bike, depending on the tire, roughly. So I do wonder then how much Damien, in this instance, will have lost out on that temperature. If it is at all similar, of course, this is all like mysteries and a dark art that is kept secret from the likes of Prince Ndiweni, who will blurt it out on international television. And if you've just joined us on our YouTube stream, welcome. Great to have you here. You do still have a chance to actually come out to the circuit if you are close enough to hear these cars roar with their full might. But if you are not, stay tuned with us. We're still going to go live on Supersport Channel 215 for the main event later today, starting from 3:30. But we've got a bit of racing to go between now and then. The first of which would be that Sporting GT race, which you see before you now. And some of the bikes also will be back to close up the day's proceedings. But in the meantime, this battle between buddies we have in frame here, it's Roy Aubrey as well as Andrew Horn. We're going to be a thorn in each other's side. We'll see who takes the thorn honors this time around for the final race. It remains to be seen.
Yeah, race number 3 in the sports and GT class. Races 1 and 2 being dominated by the Lamborghini out front. Damien Hammond, I think the race 1, he won it by 12.6 seconds. Race 2, a massive 28 seconds. So I just wonder if they'll have just dialed that car back a little bit. He's had a great day, and just go out and have some fun with the rest of the guys. Charles Orangi's very close to him there, just on the front row of the grid, on the outside of the Lamborghini Hurricane. Charles in that very, very impressive 997 Gen 2 Porsche Cup, and away we go.
Yeah, there we go. As expected, Damien Hammond takes the whole shot. Impressive how Roy Aubrey seems to have found. No, he loses it to Nicky Dix. Nicky Dix is one down the inside. Aubrey has to try the long way around to turn 1 and backs off a little bit. And that 991.2 he's had since November, learning the ropes, and he's been doing so well. Charles Orangi's gets a bit of curve, and so does Aubrey. But he has to do so to catch up to Nicky Dix, who hasn't seen trouble so far on the start. Orangi's somehow ahead of Hammond. Hammond must have done something wrong, because that is not the picture we had going into turn 1.
Having a look through on the inside,
takes
takes a massive risk there. It didn't end in tears this time around. But Roy, you'll notice the car lights flashing every now and again. They're battling with a bit of a gremlin with that car. Just listening to him chatting to Ari Neville during the lunch break and trying to pinpoint what is causing the electrical gremlin that they have got in that car. So they're in that very immaculate 786 car. He has got Andrew Horn breathing down his neck once again.
Yeah, and for fear of breathing down the neck of San Moodley, but in the meantime, Charles Orangi's has a very powerful V10 Lamborghini behind him. Getting ready to pick a spot is Damien Hammond, I would imagine, but still there's a car length in between them. What is going on? Solarangis may have the widest Porsche in the southern hemisphere at the moment. Let's see how long that lasts as Damien Hammond tries to pick his spot.
Already a nice little gap that Charlotte Rangis has managed to pull over Damien Hammond. Hammond in that immaculate Lamborghini. Then a bit of a gap running in third place. Let's see who it is. The car number comes through.
Dix, that's
That is Nicky Dix. That is in third place.
By some margin too. He might be defending soon. He seems to have some company coming. Does he? No. He's made clear of the nearest competitor, and that looks to be more Mia. In the meantime, it's still Damien Hammond trying to engineer a spot, a point where he can get past Solarangis. Interesting. Down the straight they go. Damien Hammond wants to go down the inside. You can see he's having a look, but he's struggling to do so far. Biding his time.
It might be my imagination, but just the setup on the Lamborghini just looking a little bit different. It just seems to have a lot more body roll or rock front to back rock. So I don't know if there's been a setup change with that one, but the back of the car was just looking a little sluggish. So not too sure if he's nursing nursing a problem there, but just not looking as racy as we saw it in races 1 and 2.
Yeah. And now Charlotte Rangis is going to try and capitalize. In the meantime, Andrew Horn having a look down inside of Moamia, but thinks better of it, and will try and reattempt that perhaps not too long from now, but it's a difficult place to do so from the sweep onwards all the way down to turn 1. Really, you kind of have to see the position if you haven't committed yet.
I just feel for Andrew Horn. He's going to go to sleep tonight with that imprint of the back wing of Mo Mears in his mind, because he has certainly spent the greater part of today looking at in the night race last night, the first ever GT night race in South Africa, made history at Scribante last night. He was also involved in a ding-dong battle there, so it has been an exciting tussle to watch, and it has ended in tears twice for Mo, unfortunately, but always great to have these guys showing what their skills are around Aldo Scribante Raceway.
Yeah, flame-throwing there from the 57 Lamborghini is going to be throwing the car down the inside of Arangis. Not as yet, still. Arangis finds, going down into braking at the hip, and then coming out of it, he finds a car length. Ooh, kicks up some dust, does Damien Hammond. And we'll have to resettle the car quickly. It looked like Andrew Horn down the straight found a place past Momia, but has lost it somewhere, because down the straight I swear I saw him tuck back in. Hadn't really completed overtaking route, but it's still arranges now, preventing one such overtaking move rather from Damien Hammond, who's now side by side with him down the inside and makes it stick. Arranges won't be unreasonable.
No. Deceptive with the camera angle. It makes the main straight look incredibly short, and it looks like those cars were running side by side, door handle to door handle.
Exactly.
But just Damien Hammond backing out and slotting in once again behind the back of Charlotte Rangis.
Yeah, and with the amount of light, you just don't get a sense of shadow or shade, rather, between the two cars. You can't really tell which is brighter or darker. So they really look like looks like a 2D type of setup there. But we've got Damien Hammond now still keeping it at a car length, and he's not changing that, and won't be changing it for the time being, at least as far as Charlotte Rangis can help it. The third, oh, there we go, down the inside at turn 7. Does he make?
Yeah, he's got it. Oh, the hip,
a long way around. The Rangis knows how to take the long way around, but this time around he loses out. It seems, yep, it's going to be a drag.
The Rangis should be able to have carried a lot more speed through there. So
should have, and he looks like he can. Look,
we'll see now. This is going to be the last of the late breakers.
Word.
The Rangis just managing to hold him at bay, having carried more speed there. Unfortunately, Damien having to take a completely different line through turn 7, which then obviously hampered his speed down the main straight. But Charles starting to ride the curbs there as well. He knows there's lots of pressure coming.
Yeah, trying to extend the real estate there by going onto the curb. He's one of the few I've seen actually take the curb at the moment. Roy Aubrey towards the start was, but he's now in 1 second, maybe 0.8, 0.9 adrift of Nicky Dix. So that's really his focus now, trying to get reel in Nicky Dix in that battle for 3rd and 4th. We'll see how long it remains a battle. We'll see how long it remains a battle. But in the meantime, here's the battle. It's the likes of Randy.
Yes, he's
lost it there.
pushing it to the limit and snaking onto the main straight once again.
Let's see again. I've been using that.
He's got it this time around. Finally managing to get past that incredibly wide 54 car of Charles Rangi. So Damien Hammond into the lead, as we've seen race 1 and 2. We'll see now if he's just been playing with him. Their lap times, their times are virtually identical. So we'll see now. He's got some clean air in front of him. What's going to happen? We're on board with Mo Mio once again.
Yep, the best time that Hammond has set is 1:08. That was in race 2. So that was the benchmark that he had. Going into this race now, the best we've seen from Hammond is a 1:03.3. So perspective-wise, it tells you there are three potential seconds in it for him, maybe 2.5. But let's see if that changes now, given the gap we have in front of him, which is just 1 car left, which means Rangi's in the back of his mind. He has a shot at it going into one of these corners.
Yeah, you just think of Charles, taking part now and then going to be jumping in for the 5 hour later as well. Where is his focus? I must admit, it's been a very relaxed Charles Rangi's in the pit lane this weekend. He's very friendly, calm, collected, and great to see. As
is that distance.
Damien Hammond riding the curves there once again, running it incredibly wide.
And there's that distance starting to form now. Yeah, Damien Hammond says, listen, we may have fought a bit, but now we're going to change that up. It's half a second for now between the two of them. But on board with Mo Mia here, perfect perspective of just that undulation. I've said that word so many times, but it's exactly the characteristic that makes, the exact characteristic rather, that makes the circuit so fun and enjoyable. Down at the hairpin goes Aubrey trying to catch up with Nicky Dix and Andrew Horn taking that shorter inside line at the hairpin. Looking like he's going to trouble Momia. At that point, he did not. But he'll make himself known, and it's so difficult to be perceived. So Momia is going to be having flashbacks, of course, of the past couple of races, because these two are well familiar with each other by now. The way they're going to close it now. Look at that. There it is.
Yeah.
Yep, take a breath.
Take a breath.
That's, the home straight is where you take a breath, because otherwise you're just busy on the circuit until you get back to turn 7 again.
Once again, the focus in the eyes. Just a quick glance in the rearview mirror, and you obviously saw that Andrew Horn is still there. But the gap, we've got 7 laps, and Damien Hammond just having banged in the fastest lap of the race now, a 1019.942. So quickest car on circuit is the 57 car of Damien Hammond, the Lamborghini Hurricane.
Yep, there down the inside goes Horn on Mia and makes it stick.
Finally manages to get past.
Jeez, now Momia's gonna get familiar with the rear parts of Andrew Horn's. See how low it is from the back this time. He knows how low it is on the sides and on his right hand, left hand side, and behind him. Roy Aubrey late on the brakes with Nicky Dix. He doesn't have to make it at 7. Nicky Dix by now knows Roy Aubrey is there, but now Aubrey also knows his good buddy Andrew Horn is right behind him, so it's a bit of a sandwich there.
Roy Aubrey's lights flashing once again as he goes hard under the brakes. Nice and neatly through there. Ooh, just maybe having a look at a glance on the inside. Brave to try and overtake and move there.
Yeah.
The close proximity that these guys are, the best place would be once again turn 5, late under braking into turn 5, and we just wonder if we're not going to see a move from Andrew Hammond. He has a look on the outside this time around. You're going to be very brave if you want to go around the outside of turn 5. You want to get in on the inside and then just squeeze the cars across.
You can see the corner advantage, the turning advantage that Andrew Horn has as compared to these relatively bulkier Porsches. Oh, would you look at that? Rangi's out ahead of Hammond again. What happened there? What looked like it was a gap opening, a 1.5 to 2 second gap, has now turned into a second place for Damien Hammond behind Charles Rangi's. We are, we're 5 laps across this 10 lapper. So that is quite interesting. Very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on the lap times. back to Ranges and Hammond, back to virtually identical
Yeah.
lap times once again. So it would be interesting to see where that overtake move came.
Yeah.
It was just a surprise to see that
Definitely.
Charles Ranges had closed that gap down and was already immediately ahead of Damien Hammond.
Yeah, and what you mentioned earlier about just the way the slam at number 57 that is behaving, you can see there's a bit more body roll, it's a little bit touch bouncier.
Absolutely.
Touch bouncier than before. I wonder what that is. But you can see
You see the rocking through the corners there, and I mean we've seen that car has been on rails so far this weekend, and suddenly just looking a little bit more erratic, and slots in behind Charles Ranges as they go into turn 1.
Let's see if Ranges. Oh, Nicky Dix lost it. That looks like that's not 7, that is 5. That is turn 5.
That looks like he's outbraked himself at the hairpin.
Yeah. Oh, and that means then, of course, Roy Aubrey applying pressure on Nicky Dix seems to have paid off.
No, this is not the hairpin.
That is turn 7.
It's turn 7.
Yes,
He's going onto the main straight now.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, you could actually see turn 5 in the background. You can see the cars going through into the background. So, yeah, different. We've mentioned more than once this weekend, the different camera angles. And I actually went home last night and watched the live stream on YouTube and got more accustomed with the different positions that we're using here this weekend, and it certainly is working and bringing yet another dimension to the racing here at Aldo Scribante Raceway.
Yeah, getting that perspective there out of turn 5, you get the full S. You see the entire S of the sweep there. Momir on board with him now at 7. Get a sense of just how long this corner is. It's incredible. You can see how much of an opportunity there is then for one of the racing drivers to lose it. We've seen Damien Hammond make a few mistakes there, but he's correcting them, trying to. He's back ahead of Ranges as it stands. Seems to have made it stick at turn 1 again. Ranges will feel like he's still got something, having had a taste of leading the sports in GT race.
And Andrew Horn now suddenly the quickest car out on track, 102.8 for him from the last time around. So
how about that?
Horn on a bit of a move now, ahead of Momia up into 3rd place.
102.8 is very impressive. We saw the 102 lap time set by the Mustang IRC last night, just before Material put the car back into pit. We were having to testing, having had to work on an issue that befell the car with, I think it was the hubs, one of the hubs broke off.
The back right,
hub.
Support arm that had broken on then. Purpose built to snap after an impact, and a quick turnaround, 2 bolts, and it was back ready to race. So we'll chat about that car a little bit later on when we see it back out on circuit again. It's a lot more erratic this time around.
Yeah.
As I said, he was on rails races 1 and 2, but just a little bit messy this time around. But substantial gap that he has got. The gap sitting at 1.3 seconds over Charles Ranges now. So whatever issues that Damien Hammond is having, he's managing to drive around them.
Yep. Roy Aubrey is going to have to try to find a way around Momia, and he's trying to reel him in. We have not too long to go to the end of the race, and this is about 2 laps, I think, of 15 laps. I beg your pardon, I said it was 15 laps. And Momia is going to have to be defending Lagina's nose, and at the next curve, see if I can see Roy Aubrey. Yep, you can see his car. There's that 991.1 there, just in the middle, just right in the center of the frame. He's looking for, you can see him looking for a place where he can get the car past. Now, he's perfectly behind him, a little bit of a slipstream, tuck it in. And then wait for that moment where you step on the outside if Momia gives him a chance. But Roy Aubrey is going to wait a bit and look for a better opportunity. There will be plenty. Chicane is a very difficult place to do it at. It'd be even more impressive if he goes on the outside of turn 1. Look at that. A little bit early braking for Mo there.
Under pressure once again.
Yeah, and Roy had to respond to that in a sort of equal braking force, but Damien Hammond is running away with it from Charles Ranges, and that's pretty much said and done. He set the standard for himself in race 1 and 2. Has Damien Hammond, and he takes
3 out of 3.
3 out of 3 for him in the sports and GT race, and Charles Ranges takes 2nd place A well-fought third, a podium position for Andrew
Horn
Horn.
in the Ligier coming across the line.
And now to close it up, it's
Whoa,
down
there he
inside,
goes on the
Aubrey.
inside.
Makes it sting, no defense, clean, respectful racing, and brilliant 4th place there from Aubrey, taking it at the finish. The dead end from Momia. Nice lead. Oi, what was that? What was that?
I'd like to see that from a different angle
we
if
need to see
possible,
that. We
because
need
that
to
was
see
a
that.
late lunge there from Momia. And yes, you just see the sportsmanship there, just congratulating Roy Overy. They kept it neat and tidy, and a great race. Great to see Mo bringing it home without any incidents.
Brilliant bit of racing, and everyone got theirs in and fought back. Momia avenged himself, and that is, of course, Damien Hammond had set a standard all weekend long and naturally was going to take that win. Andrew Horn getting a 3rd place, a well-earned one. He's been fighting for a couple of days now to earn that podium position. Roy Aubrey has equally so enjoyed his racing, earning that 4th place. And that's sport in GT said and done, and closing off their racing.
And we've got to talk about the likes of Nicole Perificati actually moving up a little bit more. She's in 4th place trying to chase down Basson, who was a bit late on the brakes in race 1. But let's see how it's all going to play out on the way through.
And we just saw there a moment ago, Steve, Jordan King moving up to 5th place in the Unlimited Superbikes, making his way through on Johan Leroux on the 44, and 5-second gap ahead to Nicole Perificati as Boikanyo Shabalala doing battle there behind Simpiro Mashobo, the leader of the Open Superbike class, number 12.
Getting the power on early, making his way through, but having the likes of Mbasso going and closing up that gap, the pressure starting to be felt. What can the riders do to just try and find that little bit more grip, utilize a little bit more power? You don't quite have as nimble as a 600 yet.
So the big difference for a lot of the riders who obviously come from Gauteng and high altitude is that the bikes are making a lot of power here, riding at sea level. Simpiro Mashobo there ahead of Boikanyo is doing really well because he's on a 600. He's got a huge grip of thousands there behind him, and you can see Clive Turnbull on the 27 closing down, trying to go up the inside of Mabaso. Not quite close enough. The 78 there. 78 there doing battle behind Turnbull.
Now that is Fisser going and closing up the gap, but Turnbull, who's also been on a bit of a climb as well, trying to get a little bit more pace underneath him, finding out where he can where he can pick up a couple of tenths around the circuit. He has been putting in the hard work, keeping a close eye on the competition. But Christian Curvello leads out the pack. Boston running in 2nd place. Veringa down into 3rd. Not ideal circumstance, especially for the championship. Nicole Perificati, we heard from her, going and finding that confidence yet again. But Boston is on the climb. 0.9 of a second. As we do keep an eye, that is the 44 trying to make up some time. And really seeing where it can make up a little bit. That is Leroux, a little bit wide on the exit.
Yeah, Johan Leroux not really getting off the bike there, as you can see, barely touching his knee. He's still in that battle with Jordan King. Jordan King in P5 on the 110. Jordan King, you'll also know Stephen as well, is returning from injury. He had a big knee surgery at the end of last year, so he's still building his way back up to full fitness.
All right, so you had a bit of a tribute for that at the moment, but Jordan King, though, is making up some serious ground. I'm noticing taking a little bit of a wider line compared to the competition. What's the thoughts on that? Trying to find grip or just running out of grip?
It looks to me that Jordan is just turning in later, and Dave seems to be turning in a bit early, not quite leaning the bike fully over as we rejoin Carvello back in the race lead. Looks like he's coming through to overlap Centre Smith there on the R6.
And he's got Bosson trying to make up a bit of ground as well. Traffic playing into the hands, and Bosson going and closing up, underbraking into turn 1. Carvello not having an easy time through traffic. Veringa starting to make up some ground as well.
Dave Veringa seems to be coming alive here in race 2. He'll be frustrated seeing Boston come through because he's been staring at the back end of that M1000RR all day long. So curious to see if Dave can put on a comeback charge, because as you can see, our front 3 seems to be closing up together in a concertina effect.
Veringa having a bit more background and really getting from short circuit racing, long circuit racing. He's been on pretty much anything. It's 2 wheels at this point, and looking to try and capture that 2nd place after race 1, maximizing points. Do you think he's got enough left in the tank? He's really aggressive, trying to wear it down. maybe putting the tyres through a little bit of heck with the final 2 laps to go.
It's very interesting here. If you saw into the last corner, everyone was entering the last corner in a different line. Ideally, you would want to be going to the final corner all the way on the outside.
1 lap to go, and Christian Carvello going to try and power his way through, trying to snap the toe and take a look at Varinga, eyeing out the inside line. You know the S's here quite well. What do they need to do to get the drive?
Dave needs to line up block pass at the hairpin. He's getting closer, closer, closer. So what's going to be critical here for Dave as we catch up with some of the back markers, they're the number 60 of Parry. Parry's got to get out the way. Carvello going around the outside of the back markers. That's a difficult position to be in. He picks the outside line. There's a very, very big bump there. Varinga and Barson behind. Varinga needs to capitalize on this. Like I said, block pass into hairpin. Can he make it? Ooh, not quite. Not quite. Barson still got 2 corners to defend. Carvello looks like he's on for the win, Steve.
Carvello opening up that gap. Barson getting sucked in. He's got the defense against Varinga, but it's going to be a charge to the final corner and take us across the line, Temba.
Carvello into the final corner. The lead runs wide, but he's going to square it off to get a good exit. Dave Varinga, unfortunately, not close enough to fight back on Barson, but our top 3 covered by 1 second. You love to see it in the unlimited superbikes. And in the open superbike class, Simpiwe Mahlobo continues to lead 3 seconds ahead of Clive Turnbull and Nkululeko Majola.
Absolutely incredible stuff, and the MRSSA Senior Club race done and dusted. Thumbs up from the riders going and celebrating. What a phenomenal day here at Aldo Scribante.
Phenomenal day, and there's Into Africa Racing's young Sia Shawalala coming through across the line, and Simpiwe Mahlobo. Simpiwe's only 15, Steve, and he's riding, I think, a 09 R6, which his dad hand built. His dad told me he bought that bike as basically as a frame, scraps, and bolted himself for his son to race. So I think that's the first win ever for Simpiwe in the open superbike class, so that's really awesome to see.
Barson going in, also just a bit of a high five to the riders. And this is something we've noticed about the riders of MRSSA. I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, this is Temba Kumalo, second in the championship, was out and was actually in hospital and just wanted to be at the track. The friendship it's like a big giant family here. Everyone celebrates, whether you're first or last, it's all a high five.
It's really, really great vibe here with MRSSA, and especially MRSSA, which was its own community, joining the SAES, been getting to know some of the car races. And one thing I also really enjoy about the open superbike and unlimited superbike class is that there's so many riders of all different ages, all different experiences. I mean, I know there's some guys out there in their 50s, 60s. You've got a lady, Nicole Purificati, up in the top 4. She was racing in the Women's World Championship last season. So it's a fantastic racing series, honestly.
You touched on this is actually a feeder series. If you break out of a certain lap time, you're moving on. Can you give us a bit of an understanding about that?
So I would compare it to a beginner, intermediate, and advanced level. So for any track day riders who are interested in getting racing.
So great stuff to see. Christian Carvello going and having a great run. Barson getting second place for Ringa in third. Nicole Purificati going and battling out. So just great, great stuff. But Temba, I mean, you had a interesting ride yesterday. So let's take a look at how it's all going to work out. But I'm still astonished. For anyone that doesn't know, this is Temba Kumalo, who was riding yesterday and came off his bike, landed up in the hospital, got himself sorted. We actually got a phone call from him at 8 o'clock saying, listen, I'm going to be at the track, whether you like it or not, I'll be there in the gown. You're not in the gown, but not out on the circuit. Getting to see your friends out there, you're getting to race with everyone. I mean, absolutely phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, I went in for my surgery at 7:30 this morning. Had to come through to support everyone here, especially my teammate Orakilwe Piri, who dominated the 600 class today. Really, really happy with that. Unfortunate that I couldn't ride today, but one thing I've learned in racing is that there's different ways to add value. So if I can't open that throttle, I can come and open my mouth and add some insights.
There we go. And with your extensive background from MX riding to the likes of circuit riding, you've got a bit of a commentary background as well within two-wheeled action. I mean, that's also just showing around all the show. But racing, how's it with your teammate out there? I'm sure there's a little bit of elbow to elbow trying to figure out who's quicker. You're on the bigger bike, but you've got an up-and-coming chasing you.
100%. So Oratilo is my teammate, but he's also my student because I've been coaching him since 2019. And essentially, I told him very early on, I was like, hey, listen, dude, I started before you, and I was the first pro black rider, but you need to be better than me. So I was paving the way for him. And essentially, with all the riders I work with from all their different backgrounds, I just want to see African youngsters in motorcycle racing, circuit motorcycle racing, succeeding at all levels. So what I can do to help those guys, I will do.
And taking a look at what's been happening, a lot of the riders getting exposed to more international and more what we have here, like Inter Africa, first time in history for the Inter Africa team, signing on a rider. I mean, that is big, big news, and it must be quite special in your heart.
It's really nice to see. You know, I remember I met Sia Shabalala about, I think 10, 11 years ago. And when I met him, I just saw a younger version of myself. And it's exciting to see the car side of racing getting involved with the motorcycle side of racing, because when I grew up with the old form of nationals, the cars and the bikes were interlinked. So to see those connections being made again is extremely exciting.
And MRSSA, give us a bit of an understanding of the category itself. We've got a variety. We've got classics, we've got unlimiteds, we've got 1000s, 600s. It's just a smorgasbord of stuff. Give us a little bit of a history of what MRSSA, considering you've gone and won championships in it.
That is an open-ended question, Steve, because I like to talk and I could give 10 minutes of history, but MRSSA stands for Motorcycle Racing Series South Africa, and the best riders in the country on the best bikes come to race at this series. So if you want to see top tier superbike racing in South Africa, you got to come to MRSSA, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely incredible stuff. And the Prem of the Prem to be there, Adolf going and being one of the top riders. We had Dina Izio a little bit earlier, and that is where you want to reach. For anyone that's just thinking about starting out, they're looking into their garage, any advice that you can give to those riders that, well, they've got a little something sitting, waiting, calling to be here at Aldo Scribante?
Go visit your nearest racetrack. I got interested in racing by seeing MotoGP on TV, and through my family I managed to have a connection to someone in the world of racing. But it's an amazing community where people are very open to help. There are challenges you have to learn, but I would say simply, if you want to get involved, contact a rider on social media. I've had people DMing me just saying, hey, I heard about you, I want to start riding. So contact a rider, contact an event organizer, go to a local racetrack near you, but the opportunities are there. You got to take that first step to get involved though.
Fair enough. And also it seems to be becoming more cost effective. The new Suzuki GSX-8R that's likes of Tristan Pinar is racing, someone that you actually know rather well from your earlier time in the stable. What's your thoughts on it?
So the GSX-8 Cup, I hope I said that correctly, is a new feeder series, which is basically trying to fill that gap between the junior racing and the senior racing, because kids normally go from mini motards to 150s, and then there's 400s, but it's not always easy to go from 400 straight to 600. So in between is where that cup would fill in. So that's a space for young riders to come racing where it is more affordable, but you get to be part of MRSSA, again, the premier motorcycle racing series in the country, and a great initiative, I believe, for advancing junior racing and feeding into getting more top-level races at MRSSA and SAES.
Fair enough. Now, I've got to ask a very good question, because we've got a variety of different manufacturers here, and I know everyone at home has been quite excited. I've got a few messages of big fan of Suzuki, a couple of Yamahas. We've got the likes of Mr. Burley himself saying BMW all the way. But what would be your dream ride here around Aldo Scribante, if you could pick anything?
I've already got it.
Well, for those at home that aren't sure, give us a bit of an understanding.
I think you can see it there on the shirt. My Ducati V4. I love my bike, but if I have to be brutally honest, Mick Landy has got the brand new 2025 Panigale V4. So I think his bike's probably the dream bike for me around this track.
Going and racing in the bots, and a stunning bike it is. Had to wait a whole, nearly half a year to go and be able to unwrap that present. Came around Christmas time. He's got a special container just to ensure that it's all prepped and ready. I know that there was a bit of an argument of whether he can keep it in the house or not. I think he should. What do
I
you
think
reckon?
he should. I think he should. And listen, Mick, if you need anywhere to store it, I'm here. You know who to call. And I'd love to do a lap or two if you wouldn't mind. And I promise I will look after your bike.
And that brings me to my next question. V4, for anyone that isn't too familiar about bikes, I mean, you talk about a straight 6-cylinder car, you talk about a inline 6-cylinder or inline 4-cylinder, you talk about a V8, a V10, like we've got here. A V4 on a bike, what's the difference to every other type of bike that's racing around?
So the Ducati is quite unique in that Ducati has a desmodromic system, which is, I could go on with a long complex explanation, but it's a V4 because the 4 cylinders sit in the shape of a V in the engine. The bike has a lot of torque because of that V design for the cylinders and a lot of power.
So absolutely great. I mean, that is showing through how they've developed, but let's go back in time. Let's roll the clock back a bit into a little bit of the strikes. This is the SBK Juniors, where we have our sub 500. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get off the line in race 1. We have Tristan Pienaar on that Suzuki GSX 8R, but let's look at the beauty out there. I've got to say, the Kawasaki that is racing around of Etienne Lowe, going to be the top running order. That personally is a favorite. Fugal McAdam, a highly experienced rider, started out at the age of 45 to go and have a bit of fun, was battling it out with the likes of Wessel Kruger.
So I was in my hospital bed watching that race. I haven't met Wessel or McAdam before. So I was watching, I didn't know exactly who was who, but I thought it was an amazing battle for P2.
Well, keep an eye on the silver arrow of likes of Fergal McAdam. He's looking to take the battle to the sharp end of the field and see how it's going to go. Hall taking the overall win for the Classics, going to be trying to power away once again. The winner of the race had to be Tristan on the 2025 Suzuki, taking the overall win and looking to really stomp up the order. John Kussman, Etienne Lowe, they kept it a little bit towards themselves at the point, and Dean Kemp as well. As we get ready to lights on, lights off, and take us through heading for the start of the race. Green flag at the back. Timber, over to you.
We wait for those red lights. It's a long run to turn 1. Tristan Pienaar still looking back, probably looking over at his dad, Clinton Pienaar. Let's see if he can get the whole shot on that Suzuki GSX 8. Our 30-second board is up. We're going to wait for that 5-second board and for the red lights to go on. Keep an eye out for Henning as well on the 74. Let's see if he can get a better start to race 2.
All off the line, and it is a good go. Tristan Pienaar trying to keep the front end down, but it is going to be a charge for the likes of Wessel Kruger trying to move up through the order, but it is the 65 trying to make up a bit of time of Hall straight into first place, and you can see Fugal McAdam down into, well, 4th place at the moment as Tristan's making up a bit of ground, but Hall not breaking away from Tristan too quickly this time around as he tries to go through the sweep. But this is Fugal McAdam trying to make up a little bit of ground to relive the battle once again with Kruger.
Yes, we're going to see that battle go ahead between Kruger and McAdam, but Jamie Hall out front is under siege from the number 50 of Tristan Pienaar. Tristan Pienaar is looking for a way through. You can see he's going inside, outside. There was quite a cheeky move through turn 2 on lap 1 to go around the outside of Kruger, but let's see if Tristan can find his way through up the inside into the final corner. Ooh, you see there, he's gone all the way to the outside, so he wasn't going for an overtake there. He's setting up drive for the exit. He's going to get on the gas earlier. Now let's see the Classic versus the new Suzuki in a straight head-to-head horsepower race.
Well, it's a Suzuki S-Rad 750 that's ahead of the likes of Tristan Pienaar, getting a little bit of the legs there and really showing what he can do. Right behind is the likes of that brand new GSX 8R. And then you have got Wessel Kruger, he's on a Suzuki GSX 750R, and Fugal McAdam, the lonely Honda VTR 1000, trying to make up some ground.
Yes, as we rejoin McAdam out front. So, Stephen, I think most of these bikes are older than both of us, which is pretty cool. But out front, Tristan Pienaar up the inside into the hairpin. Thinks about it, doesn't find a way through. You could see the rear wheel kicking out there as Tristan hard on the brakes. He's going to have to set up that move a bit better, but I think either turn 1 or into that hairpin, or the last corner as he goes for it around the outside, more corner speed, but you can see Tristan with a bit less power than
That is
the
Jamie Hall.
Jamie Hall. And what bike is that?
That is the Suzuki S-Rad 750. And it's great to show Suzuki two different eras fighting it out for the podium. And just behind, Wessel Kruger and McAdam are fighting it out between Suzuki and Honda. Which one are you going to pick?
I would pick the Honda, I'd say, because it looks very cool. And it reminds me of Jim Redmond's classic Honda. But you could see there, I'd never heard of a Suzuki S-Rad 750 up till this race, so that's pretty cool. But you could see there, Steve, how much time Jamie Hall was able to pull out on the pit straight. Over half a second clear of Tristan Pienaar, but Tristan Pienaar is going to work hard now to make up all that time on the infield section.
Now, if I remember correctly, the likes of Hall's bike is a purpose-built race bike, and then you've got the Suzuki of Tristan. That's actually a road-going bike that got gutted out a little bit. No front headlights, the ABS has been bypassed, and the foot peg has been raised just so it hasn't hit the ground. But that is a road bike that you can go and get off the showroom floor, same as going to the showroom floor and buying the exact same race bike.
100% true, Steve. And I know Tristan's got the standard exhaust. As you can see, he's made up that half a second. He was lagging behind. As they start another lap, onto lap 3 of 7. So far, Tristan Pienaar and Jamie Hall have matched each other in terms of the fastest lap of the race on a 106.9, Kruger at a 109.3, and McAdam on a 109.4. So we've got those two battles, the two pairs fighting out for P1 and for that final podium position.
And it's also for the points, and lying a little bit further down in 3rd and 4th place. But you cannot take away from the front runners. Look at McAdam really leaning in, trying to figure out where he can just roll on the power a little bit earlier. It seems like the bike just being 1000cc, a little bit heavier, trying to just maneuver his way around, utilizing the power, but just not as confident on the brakes to Kruger ahead of him.
You can see McAdam's carrying a lot more mid-corner speed. However, it is costing him a bit of time on the exit. Kruger keeping it tight at the apex, but getting better drive on the exits. They're going to come through to complete another lap. Brake lights still on that Honda. You don't see that often on a racetrack, Steve.
Well, taking a look, you've also got the likes of Suzuki versus Honda, two brands that have gone to absolute war with each other over the course of the years. Let's go back to the 60s, 70s, 80s. It is constant. And now we're getting to see it here at Aldo Scribante for the South African Endurance Series, part of the MRSSA Round 2 of the Junior SBK race. And this is our historic category. And then more modern machinery up ahead. Currently, Hall, who is on a bit of an older bike, to the 2025 Suzuki behind him, and is really doing a fantastic job. Jamie's not backing down at all.
Really fantastic stuff. I'm not exactly certain of how old Jamie is, but I know. Oh, big head shake for Jamie. Can he keep it on track? Looks like he's gone off there. Tristan Pienaar takes a look to the side. Jamie Hall has run off. He's probably gone down there. Oh, what a man. Jamie Hall, huge tank slapper through the Bridgestone sweep. Hard on the gas, showing his motocross skills there, Steve.
How do you land up losing the bike like that? Is it just under braking, going down into more of a bowl and just getting a bit unsettled, or was that just on power? What causes the bike to suddenly upset the way it is?
So what it is that as you exit turn 6, the track starts to go down, but then there's a small uphill crest. So you hard on the throttle there. In second gear, the bike wants to wheelie a lot. And if that front wheel lands slightly turned or not exactly straight, it starts to cause a tank slapper. And in most cases, once a tank slapper starts, if the rider holds on tighter, he makes it worse. But it looks like Jamie Hall was able to quickly compose himself there. Still in second position, but he is now 7.9 seconds behind our new race leader on the road, Tristan Pienaar.
And still ahead of the fighting duo, Kruger McAdam, once again on the inside, trying to get underneath, causing likes Kruger to sit up just a little bit. Once again, a little bit unsettled, under braking. McAdam just hoping, maybe, just maybe, the pressure's going to get to him.
We are at half race distance, Steve. 4 1/4 laps to go. You can see McAdam is getting closer. He was a lot closer than he was the last previous lap. So it looks to me like McAdam, you can see that he goes for the inside line, but he doesn't attack. So it looks to me like he's just settling, saving some energy and waiting to launch an attack on the final 2 laps.
Well, into into the slipstream, now putting his head down, trying to become as aerodynamically possible out here at Aldo Scribante, and just not having the top end to go and contend as Kruger, once again, first into turn one and having that 0.2, 0.3 of a gap before braking.
Vessel Kruger will have his work cut out because you can see that on the brakes, and as I mentioned earlier, in the mid corners, look how much time McAdam makes up there. But again, he is running wide, so he's going too fast through the middle of the corner, which is causing him to run wide, which is messing up his exits, which is contributing to that gap forming down the straights because he's essentially messing up his corner exit by going too fast through the middle of the corner. As we take a look at Henning on the 74, doing battle with Etienne Lowe on that vintage Kawasaki.
Absolutely stunning. One of my favorite of the motorcycles here for the race weekend. Etienne Lowe been really putting in some good times, but this also shows there's our sub 500 class. And take us through, what is the sub 500 class when we talk about that?
So the sub 500 class essentially mirrors the Super Sport 300 class that you'll see in the World Championship and in various national racing series overseas. So it is sub 500, but the most common and competitive bike is the Kawasaki Ninja ZX 400, which we can see Henning's doing battle on there.
Absolutely, and going and fighting out. But taking a look back to the fighting order, Figure McAdam not able to get going. Interesting enough, down the straightaway, it is the 750 Suzuki GSX that's able to get a little bit further ahead. Kruger not hanging back, but in the corners, the 1000 up on the inside. Figure McAdam going and proving the point. That 1000 is going through the corners a lot quicker than the 750.
That was an absolutely beautiful move from McAdam. Set that up through the kink, into the sweep, and as I predicted, 2.5 laps to go, and he launched his attack. So I could see there that McAdam was just biding his time. Now we're going to find out if he has the pace to pull away from Kruger on the 750.
And then we have got Van Blickum going around as well on the number 28, and really just showing what he can do. The Suzuki GSX-R going and making his way through. It's interesting to see the different variations of Suzuki through the years of how they tried and tested different ideas to eventually get to the more modern machinery.
100% agreed, and you know, as most people know, there are many GSX-R fans of many ages. Fantastic motorcycles, honestly, and some of the people that have mentored and coached me have had some great times on Suzuki's, and clearly the bikes are still working even in 2025.
Oh, that's it. All the different eras coming into play, different ideas. But Tristan Pienaar leads out the pack. We have got Jimmy Hall running in second place. Vessel Kruger going and fighting out still with McAdam. McAdam running in fourth place. Got the pass done, but just couldn't carry on through. He has to get that 0.3 of a second gap out of the final corner to ensure he stays ahead of Kruger. Can he take the dive? I mean, this is risky.
It is now or never. We've got a lap to go. Tristan Pienaar, your race leader. So he's the leader on the road as well as leading the Suzuki GSX 8R Cup. Jamie Hall, interestingly, was 7.9 seconds when he ran off and only 8.6 seconds behind. So he's managed to stabilize his pace. But as you can see, Kruger back into third place, 0.4 between him and McAdam. Who's your money on to come out on that final podium position, Steve?
Oh, it's going to be close. I think if Kruger plays his cards right, he's going to be able to walk away with the victory. And I have to put my money on Kruger here. McAdam is really throwing everything he can, but just missing that bite, that absolute go for it. It's something that just tells you, you're going to make this stick. The brakes are going to work underneath you. You know this all too well.
Yeah, McAdam, he's been struggling with running wide on the corner exits, and I think it is because he's trying to carry too much speed in the middle of the corner, which is compromising his exit. As you see, Tristan Pienaar, he's had a very busy day racing the SBK 1000 class, and he comes through for another race win.
So taking the victory, but here is the fight for third place, last of the podium, and it does look like Kruger has got the legs over McAdam, and it'll be Vessel Kruger taking that third place spot ahead. Oh, we have got one of the riders down.
That is Tristan Henning on the 74. Tough break for young Tristan Henning, our only sub 500 rider. That looks like, I see some Proton bannering. I think that may be turn one, which would be a fast one.
So that is turn one, just going and missing out the brake mark. He was chasing down Etienne Lowe not so long ago, but unfortunately that is the brakes of the racing. You're either going to get it, but good to see he's up and going. A lot of safety here, a lot of protection on the riders to really keep going. But what a beautiful shot of our classic machinery.
Lovely really there from Kruger. But one thing to remember as well is that we are in Kruger, Port Elizabeth, which is known as the Windy City. And when you're going into turn one, a gust of wind changing direction will immediately change your braking marker, because you can brake at the 150 on one lap and the next lap the wind direction changes and 150 may be too late. So I think young Tristan Henning, our youngest rider out on track, may have been caught out by a little bit of inexperience there.
Absolutely great stuff. Well, with that being said, and the race concluded, take us through who was the winner of the different classes. We know Tristan Pinard took the overall win for the Suzuki GSX 8R on their debut race for the season for the class that just came out here for Aldo Scribante in Quebec.
Cheeky stoppy there from Tristan as well, emulating, that's Tristan Pinard, not Tristan Henning, emulating top rack racer Gatlioglu. So Tristan, as you mentioned, won the GSX 8R Cup with the fastest lap of a 106.852, which is on a basically stock standard road bike, which is very, very impressive. So those youngsters getting interested in that class, do get involved. I know Tristan and his dad are trying to help build that series up, and they are showcasing the bikes there. In the classics, Jamie Hall came through second behind Tristan on the road, but he was the winner in the classics with a 106.8. So he matched Tristan Pinard on those lap times on his 25-year-old Suzuki, which I think he'll be pretty happy with. And Kruger and McAdam completing the podium.
Absolutely incredible stuff. And the MRSSA now making their way into the pits. All the racing concluded for them. The celebrations are going to be absolutely wild, that's for certain. And I think every single one of these riders can give themselves a big pat on the back for a job well done.
100%, Steve, and it was a very weird week, I'll be honest, you know. Just to add a bit of context for the viewers at home, but we got you on Wednesday to start testing. Unfortunately, Sean Peterson was going to be racing in the Masters. He had a crash. He's still in hospital, wishing him a speedy recovery. So I needed 7 laps on Wednesday because he crashed. There was about an hour delay. Then after that, the next practice session, there was oil, unfortunately, on the track, and another rider went down. So that was 7 laps on Wednesday, came through on Thursday, had 2 practice sessions. The first one, there was a lot of traffic. Second one, I crashed, which ended everyone's session. Into Friday, it rained, you know, and then today, an entirely chaotic day, you know. So I was curious, Steve, what is your moment of the day from all the racing, all the classes that really stood out to you?
I have to say, photograph moment for me is having the Suzukis going and fighting out, the likes of Tristan going around the outside and getting on the having Vessel on the inside. That's a photograph moment for me, but absolutely incredible stuff for our MRSSA. Concluding their round 2, as they will look forward to Killarney. Plenty more racing to come here at Aldo Scribante. For next, we're going to be heading into the 5 hours of endurance racing for the South African Endurance Series. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you go and look on social media, and also tag us on social media. We'd love to see your comments. What's been your photo moment for the MRSSA here at Aldo Scribante?